You were born in Nazareth, right?
So
Okay.
give that a beat before you say that.
Got it. Good.
This is the kind of direction that is changing film.
Open it up a little bit.
Take a little longer pause.
Got it. Got it. The dramatic pause.
Stanislavski would be proud. So some of you are new, some of you have probably heard some form of this speech before, but I first just want to say thank you so much. It really means a lot that you're here. I know that mingling and doing these kinds of scenes isn't always fun. Sometimes, you know, we're in the heat, and sometimes it's just a lot of waiting around. The fact that you're willing to do that means a lot. This is a very important scene. Obviously, some of you know this is the scene of the wedding at Cana, and this is one of the most famous and impactful stories in the Gospels. And one of the keys about it is the crowd and the fact that there are a lot of people here. And that ultimately one of the main reasons that Jesus did this miracle was to save his friends from embarrassment and to obey his mom. And the reason that his mom was embarrassed was because so many people were here. And back in these days, running out of wine at a wedding was a massive, massive social faux pas. And so Jesus cared about his mom and his friends. So keep that in mind whenever you're starting to get a little bit bored, because filmmaking sounds exciting, but it's really not. It's actually quite boring most of the time. But thanks for your patience in advance. I really appreciate it. You guys look great. And it's really going to be a really meaningful scene for many people.
So background, you guys all start on background too. We'll call it background and you start. Here we go. And Keith, you good? Yeah. Background? Go ahead. Background, go ahead. Action.
Rafi, Dinah.
Hello, Abner.
Well,
This is the best party I've been to in a long while.
mwah, mwah, mwah.
Very much. Thank you.
Great. Kat, we'll do one more.
Cut.
Great.
Go again.
I think on the hoopah, when you say, I think you can, when you say I've lost my train of thought, take your time on that. And,
Just know that the green had been sprayed.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Bug spray, so do not
Any pauses are good.
Got it.
So don't feel for rushed at all.
Okay.
Anytime you want to stop and just really slow down, I mean, I can always speed it up if I need to, but the awkwardness plays.
Okay.
And she's playing great off just on that. I was going to say, you can at least once like just look down. Like,
Okay.
you know, like that'll be a nice mix with what you're doing.
Gotcha.
And then I didn't notice this time, when he points out the hookah, do you look at her first?
No.
Give her a look of just
Okay.
like a,
Got it.
sorry.
I thought you said this was crooked. Looks fine to me.
And this wine is delicious. You must know the vineyard.
Really keep that area more clear for this.
Oh.
Okay, background. You're set.
I love to laugh there.
All right. Good wine.
No reason I should suffer.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark. Yeah, you were about there.
Set.
Call it a zone.
Settle. And action.
Well, we had a wedding. It just wasn't like everyone else's.
Why not?
You know why.
I would have gone.
I know. If Joseph were here, he would be so proud of you and Rafi. So happy for you.
Dinah, they're here.
Moment of truth. I made Rafi spend everything we had left for good wine. So wish me luck.
And cut.
And you've got
No, but you can exaggerate a little bit more on the look, like.
Okay.
But everything we had for good wine. Wish me luck. You know, the
Okay.
wish me luck part.
To have a little more fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay. Thank
It's
you.
just not the giggly.
Right.
You know, just like.
Yeah. The nervous part, that Dinah nervous energy. Okay.
This has been maybe a month, a few weeks since I've seen her.
I'd say longer.
Okay. Yeah, so that's.
Yeah, that's.
I messed with
And action on rehearsal.
Hi, Ima. Oh, how are you? I missed you.
I
I have missed you. Look at you. It's been a while. Have you been eating?
I have been eating. These people have been helping me to eat.
Hi. How are you? They used to.
And the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom, the voice of the bride, the voice of joy, and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom, and the voice of the bride. And then it kind of just ends, with everybody.
You've been doing like the voice of the bridegroom,
Which
is what Justin's been doing.
I like this one.
And the voice of the bridegroom. That seems to be easy to me.
Yeah.
But if all the extras.
What if it's just syncopated? The voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride. The voice of the bridegroom, the voice of. There's no need to speed up. The voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride.
You know what a grapevine is? No. Ah, never mind. Yeah. All right. It's basically this. And then they run. And they all come in. They all come back out, and they just keep going with that again.
Sorry, dude.
And also to sing too, because they have a song they sing.
I want to sing the song together a couple of times, and then I am going to ask you all to come out into the sun just so we can practice the dance once or twice before we get down there. It's not going to be long now. The voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride. That's good. Let's go out into 2 circles right out there. Men on one circle and women in the other. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, you got it. Ladies, you got it? Are we doing the go in? We're not going to do the go in. We're going to keep this simple. All right, so are you guys ready to sing and move at the same time? All right, here we go. 5, 6, 7, 8. There shall be heard today. Singing to the rock in the streets of Jerusalem. The voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of drum and the voice of the bride. And then all hands go up. It doesn't have to look perfect. How did you guys feel about that? Joyful. That looks great. If you haven't done that, she's going to be down there with you. I'll be down there with you. Yeah.
So women on this side, men on this side for now.
Tony, you over here. You can just join the group right now. You just join the guys over there, Jason. Okay. Here, you would probably go with the Michael. Good to have you back. Join the guys over there, please.
First things first is I'm going to start with this table right here, which is going to be our disciples. So you two gentlemen are going to join this group. You're going to join them as well. So if you're like arms on shoulders like this, right?
Yeah, bro, I do that a lot.
Yeah. So it's not close. I would do it more. Are you good with this? Would this be normal, Shahar?
Yeah.
Like hand on shoulders.
Oh, you're good, man.
Like this. So it looks like we need one, maybe 2 more. Okay. So you can come right on in, and then.
Is Jesus over here? Hey, Dallas, is Jesus over here?
Jesus, that's right. Perfect.
Oh yeah, Jesus is there. Yep. Yeah, he's. Hey guys, I need Johnny.
Never have Jesus when we need it.
The voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride. The voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride.
Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who brings forth the fruit of the vine.
Amen.
Great job.
Further on into the wedding. So we'll just be this is kind of the reception part or whatever. Everybody's just kind of hanging out and talking. So we'll have you kind of mix and match and walking around a little bit more and talking to each other and just hanging out, having a good time, and doing lots of drinking.
I like that.
What you got? More water. Stay hydrated. Let's roll down.
The theme of this episode is similar to Downton Abbey. You see what's going on out on the main floor, and then all the things that happen backstage with the servants and the people who are making sure that everyone has enough wine.
If they ask you for more, tell them you'll be right back. But guess what? You won't be. Understand?
Today is when we start to see the fact that they are running out of wine, and we also shoot today the solution to the wine problem. So you come in, you talk, you tell them what to do, and you walk out. The conversation, Akis, between Jesus and Thomas, I do plan on doing overs. So there's not a whole lot of places we can put them, but
or the two shot,
right?
or the two shot we'll see back there.
Yeah, the two shot for sure.
Yeah.
They could be, you could cheat a little bit here, and we could get a little bit out there, but.
Oh yeah, because this we'll see out there.
Yeah.
Just to see out there.
So if we land here.
Yeah, that's right there.
You heard him. Start drawing water, quickly. Tell anyone you find to stop what they're doing and help.
I know a man like you. Always counting. Always measuring.
That's my job. And that people will think I have not done well tonight.
Join me. And I will show you a new way to count.
I'm going to cut on that. It looked great, but how do you feel? Helix back closes the door. Jonathan's will stand here for a beat or two, a couple beats. And then it's as simple as he leans. I want to see the reflection if we can pull that off. And he has a line, "I am ready, Father." What are you thinking about that? Are you wanting to look up, or are you wanting to just close your eyes and say it?
I'm ready, Father.
Hold for statistics.
Two.
Cool.
So cut.
Thank you, Jonathan. Lovely.
That's a wrap on day 27. Thank you guys for sticking with us tonight.
Hey, it's Dallas. I'm the creator of The Chosen, and yes, season 1 of The Chosen is complete. All 8 episodes, they're available right now. You can look up The Chosen in the App Store or Google Play, and we're easy to find. You can download it and be watching within minutes. And in fact, it's unprecedented technology. You can connect to almost any device you have directly, and you don't even need a subscription. So I hope you'll check out season 1 of The Chosen right now. Hey, it's Dallas. I'm the creator of The Chosen, and one of the most common questions or comments that I get is about the characters in the show, the people from the Gospels that we chose to feature prominently in The Chosen. Questions about why we chose the people that we did, or how we went about creating the backstories for these people when there's actually somewhat limited information in Scripture, and of course the challenges of doing things and writing about scenes and characterizations that might not be explicitly outlined in Scripture, especially when we're doing that with Jesus, where you have to be really careful. So we asked our head writer, Ryan Swanson, to talk about this. We interviewed him on the set, and I think you're going to get a lot out of all of the insights that he has about how we went about doing this. So check this out.
The character of Jesus immediately presented a challenge. We're certainly cautious with words we put into Jesus' mouth. I'm lucky enough to work with Tyler Thompson in Dallas, and I've never seen these characters like this before.
I don't know what this means. I don't know yet how I'm going to provide.
I don't care about that.
Then why are you crying?
Because someone finally sees in you what I have always seen.
The humanity of the characters was, I think, one of the first things that really gelled for all of us. We each came to the table with some preconceived ideas about who these people might have been based on, mostly on what they did. So we were, in a way, reverse engineering all of our characters. We looked for characters that were compelling, and the first one was Simon. Simon had a moment where he was called, and we felt like that was the emotional midpoint of our story. We want to have an emotion that's earned by circumstance. We want to have a victory that's earned by hard work, ingenuity. Simon's miracle had none of those things. Simon was floundering. but we are replacing familiarity with Simon's circumstances to, as a sort of sleight of hand, let us know what this miracle could possibly have meant to him when it happened. And so at that cathartic moment for Simon, we feel every bit of his humility when he drops to his knees. We feel every bit of regret and joy and overwhelming grace that he received because we know the context in which that miracle occurs.
We've waited for you for so long, we believe, but by faith, I'm sorry.
I think at a certain point, each of us made the characters personal. We started to add in our own foibles, our own strengths. We started to hear ourselves in the dialogue for them. But they were all based on the idea that these characters have been available to us, but never personalized. So when we started to think of Mary's struggles, and we started to think of who she might have become, we had a lot of source material to look at and actually track her life. But what was her feelings through all that? How did she interact with people? Having to imagine what it was like with free will as a real person, waking up with the choices that Mary had to face. It made us make choices. While we've known for years what these people did, the idea that we really had to articulate it to each other, that it had to pass story standards, that it had to pass biblical standards, that it had to pass each of our faith standards, created something that heretofore we couldn't have predicted. Nicodemus's character, for example, we had very little to go on. We knew that he was at the cross. We knew that he was on the rooftop with Jesus. In our story, we get to explore what it was like to have a lot invested in his life. A wife who loves their lifestyle, students who are looking up to him, a place of reverence in his temple. What pressures must this person be under when he encounters somebody he knows is radically different from anything his faith preaches, is breaking the laws on which his belief system is founded?
Everyone's here?
Yes, this is all of us.
The dissonance that he's experiencing, doing one thing, believing another.
Is there anyone else?
We were then introduced to a character who had never been three-dimensional to us before.
You came so close.
What do you mean?
We need to go for it to make it to a camp in Tiberias by nightfall. Simon is correct. Let's go. You're gonna wear that? These are my clothes. Should I have others?
We looked at the difference of Matthew's gospel versus the others, and we saw a certain rigidity, a certain adherence to facts, a certain, he tracks lineages. Imagine who is that person that is both exiled from society, has a job that he's hated for, writes in this way, and the Matthew that we came together to create was, for us, there was discovery in it every day, and it kept the work exciting. Every time we wrote a Matthew line, we imagined all those factors. He has a dog because we imagined a person who had difficulty emoting, and in screenwriting, you want to give a character a soundboard. But he doesn't have a best friend to share his troubles of the day with. He doesn't have anybody to commune with at all. So we imagined this dog, and the character we ended up creating popped off the page. At a certain point, the dog was less essential to find out who Matthew was, and we could watch him react to life as it was happening around him. But people love the dog, even if it won't sit.
You complaining about sacred water in the street?
How does a tax collector's life change? His priorities shift when suddenly up isn't up anymore. His world is turned inside out.
This catch is worth a lot. It's amazing.
It's impossible.
The character of Jesus immediately presented a challenge. We're certainly cautious with words we put into Jesus' mouth.
I want to do the will of my Father, and I want to spread the message of salvation. So yes, I am happy to not stay in one place.
I think we're all sort of in awe at the idea of writing anything for Jesus. But what each of us understands is Jesus' humanity, and we each have a relationship with Jesus. And because of that, he sounds different to each of us.
I'm telling you this because even though you are children and the elders in your life have lived longer, many times adults need the faith of children. And if you hold on to this faith really tightly, someday soon, you will understand all of what I'm saying to you.
His humanity is our first organizing principle. This is a human. How would he respond to the pressures of life in the context of the ministry he's begun?
By whose authority do you teach? Answer me.
Knowing what we each know in our hearts about this character, how do we then put those words into his mouth? How do we write his blocking? How do we help make a decision for Jesus in the places between Scripture? That effort is exciting, it's daunting, it's something that gives us anxiety as we eat tuna over the sink in hour 12 on a given day. When we read the Bible, we're getting God's version. When we watch The Chosen, we can imagine ourselves there, and then we can get some sense, even through our own experience watching the screen, of what it could possibly have been like when Jesus enters their lives. We're trying to set the stage. We're trying to provide a place where the characters live and breathe the moments that you've read about, again, from that authorial perspective, to come down from 10,000 feet and live it at ground level as we experience our own lives with uncertainty about what's around the next corner. It is an incredible new angle on the passages of the Bible that we are inspired by.
Wait, my first name and my last name?
Either, sure. Go ahead and give me your first and last name.
Okay. My name is Kaylin Reese, and I'm from...
Try that again.
Sorry.
Port Charlotte.
Port Charlotte or Arcadia?
Well, we're more
closer to Port Charlotte.
Closer to Port
Okay.
Charlotte. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. We'll probably use that. That's cute.
My name is Kaylin Reese, and I'm from Port Charlotte, Florida.
With our daughter, she had some quirks when she was growing up. She was also obsessed with certain things. We didn't know it was Asperger's at first.
Different ways that she would struggle, different ways that she processed things. I guess didn't think much about it as she was growing up until a couple of family members who are teachers mentioned that, you know, she may be on the spectrum.
Sometimes I think of things a little bit more deeply than some do, and don't always understand people's jokes. And I had a few tics growing up that I've kind of learned to control.
The heartbreaking thing as a mother is when you watch your child, you know, struggle with friendships and, you know, to feel left out. But then watching her kind of overcome those struggles with some of her gifts has been really amazing.
She had such a gift of just musical, an ear for music and an eye for artwork.
We watched it together as a family, and we were all like crying and stuff, and it was really good.
Seeing Matthew for the first time, it just kind of struck all of us, like, huh, that's really interesting.
Matthew's quirks, the way he interacted with people was very mechanical, always looking around. And I kind of recognized that. At least I had suspicions that he might be on the spectrum.
Especially how he was an outcast and how it was really hard for him to make friends and like relate with people. And the part where he was looking into his family's house and he was like sad because they didn't invite him or anything. Not that my family is like that, but I've had some friends who have done stuff like that to me. Well, I just saw the character and I just really related with it. And I don't know, I just thought maybe if they need a cellist that I could come in if they needed me. And also I wanted to tell you that how much that it impacted me.
So we said, of course, that's no problem. I never ever expected really that we'd hear anything back. I thought that was kind of a neat, cute gesture that she wanted to send a letter.
And I immediately had an idea of what the letter was about, because when we created the character of Matthew, we decided that based on some of the characteristics we saw in the Gospels, that it was plausible, if not factual, but plausible, that Matthew had Asperger's syndrome. I have personal experience with it. On my side of the family, there's a lot of people on the spectrum. I have a daughter who's on the autism spectrum. And so it just made a lot of sense. And so once we decided that, writing into Matthew these characteristics that I know very well, I felt like we could really do an accurate portrayal. Kaylin wrote me this letter, and she simply said, I was moved by seeing a character on screen that I could relate to. And it also brought me closer to God and made me realize that I'm not alone and that God is with me and sees me in these moments. One of our composers, Matt, is actually a world-class cellist, and so we didn't actually need one. But as soon as I mentioned to Matt and Dan, our composers, her letter, and I said, what would you think of us maybe allowing her to participate?
Man, it's really cool that I'm in a position to support and encourage a really cool experience for somebody that I didn't get to have when I was a teenager.
I am always a fan of supporting musicians who are up and coming and who just have this strong desire and passion for music.
My dad opened a text that he got from my mom and saw the email, and then he goes, and then I was like, what? And then I leaned over to look at it, and he said, no, I want to read it to you. So then he started reading the response. We both started tearing up, and I got so excited that I almost jumped out of the car. Then we just sat there like, wow, God is so good, and I was just so happy.
When she showed up, I think she was clearly a little bit nervous, but a little bit excited. One of the things that were able to calm some of the nerves was we were able to talk. Matt was able to talk about the cello, and Dan was able to talk about music in general and about some of the things that we did.
And then I kind of figured out what I was going to do. When I found out it was the scene with Nicodemus and Jesus, I was like, wow, that's so special.
Just amazing to be able to see these people would take the time to work with Kaylin to let her be a part of this.
We weren't necessarily just doing her a favor. She's actually a really good cello player. And so when she sat down and started to play, we were like, wow, this is actually really good. This is actually worthy of this scene. The scene that we chose for her to play on is actually one of the most important scenes in the whole show.
The moment that she plays in the cue is probably the most important climactic moment in the scene. It was neat that it worked out for her to be a part of a moment that was that important, and not just a couple of characters walking to the market kind of thing, something like that. It's cool that it worked out that way. A couple of simple explanations of things about nuts and bolts of this is how we do this. She was a pro. Yep.
She did fantastic. In fact, I don't think we need Matt Nelson anymore on cello.
Then after we did it, I saw the video with the music, and I almost started crying. It was so cool that I get to be a part of this.
Blessed are all who take refuge in him.
She actually played beautifully, and I think brought to her playing a purity that made the scene even better.
She's super talented. I don't think a lot of teenagers get to have the experience that she was able to have today. I don't think a lot of people have enough people pouring into them and just saying, hey, look, you keep going, keep getting better at what you're doing.
I can't tell you how much that just impacted me watching it and knowing that my daughter's cello was a part of that. I could not be more proud as a father.
To hear her be able to play in a studio and to have the encouragement from everybody working with her, it was just beautiful. I can't wait to see the rest, but that one scene, yeah, that's pretty special.
All that stuff is great when you can invite people into the process of creating. And for us, working on a TV show, for it to be, now it's hers too. Like, it's not just Matt's and my music, it's hers. And I love that we can invite people in that way.
Allowing someone like Kaylin to participate in this, I think, is part of the statement that we're trying to make with this show, which is, in the lyrics of the opening credit sequence song, got no trouble with the mess you've been, jump in the water. And I think that's what we were saying to Kaylin. We got no trouble with this. The fact that you've struggled with Asperger's is not a hindrance to you being involved. In fact, we'd love for you to be involved, and we'd love for you to jump in the water with us and participate in this show that God has clearly been orchestrating from the beginning.
Wait, my first.
You were born in Nazareth, right?
So
Okay.
give that a beat before you say that.
Got it.
Alrighty. We are live. I am live, and I'm in Los Angeles. And if you are wondering why things look a little bit more low-key and lo-fi than normal, it is because I'm in a hotel room in LA. I got in today. The weather in Chicago was crazy. It's snowing like crazy there. So I got in just a couple hours ago. And we just don't have, obviously, the means in a hotel room to set up something fancy. So this doesn't look quite as professional as the office setup that I usually talk to you from. But that's okay, because tonight is actually meant to be something a little bit more personal. We're going to talk about some things that have to do with 2020. I'm going to share my heart on a few things. I think it's okay if occasionally I just talk to you directly and not worried about trying to appear as professional as possible. One of the things that has made this show what it is and what has gotten us to where we're at today is an authentic relationship between the show and you. I've said this many times before, and it's 100% true. We literally couldn't do it without you. And I think one of the reasons why you've come to trust us in this process is that we're authentic. And so if being in a hotel room in Los Angeles with earbuds just to make sure that you can hear and see me is what we need to do to get this message across, and that's okay. Even though this hotel room is not exactly large, it's a relatively small hotel room, there are 4 other people in here. We do have 3 of our actors who you are going to hear from in a few moments. And we also have our head writer, my co-writer, Ryan Swanson is also here. You're going to be hearing from him relatively soon. Tonight's a big night. A lot of things are happening. We're going to be talking about quite a few things. And I'll go over some of the basics in just a moment, and then I'll take you through it. But it's going to be a lot of fun. One of the first things I want to share real quick, just a couple of housekeeping items, and I say this every time, but it's important, and I'll tell you why. Number one, if you are watching on Facebook, make sure that you do like or follow our Facebook page, and make sure that you're liking this video and you're commenting on it, and that you're engaging, because when you do that, it gets these videos out in front of more people. So it shows up on more people's news feeds when you are commenting, when you are liking, when you like our page, it makes a big difference. So it also, of course, makes sure that you're aware of future videos, and also all our videos from the past and our updates is essentially one of our home bases. Another spot, of course, is YouTube. And if you are watching on YouTube, you know what I'm going to say. There is a subscription subscription icon below this video and a notification bell. You need to click on both of those. That will make sure that you're aware of future videos that we do. We'll let you know. And it also, YouTube loves that. So between you and me, let's make sure that we are working hard to give YouTube what they want, which is they want engagement. They want videos that are getting responded to. And so when you say to YouTube, I want to know more about this page, it makes a difference. And over the last, I think, month and a half or so, we have doubled our subscribers on YouTube. And this community is really starting to grow, and that gets the attention of social media outlets. It's the same thing is happening on Instagram. We're not live on Instagram right now, but liking us, following us on social media makes a big difference. It helps the show significantly. And of course, I know that you want more people to see the show, and you want people to hear about the show probably in the same way that you did, as it probably came across social media at some point, or someone liked it or shared it with you, and that made a big difference. So please take the time to do that real quick. It just takes a couple seconds, and you could do that right now. And if you are watching us through our website, if you came through the app, a special welcome to you. This is the first time that we have actually done a live stream where the app was kind of the doorway into it. And so thank you so much. Some of you may even be joining us from around the world, which is really cool, especially if you downloaded the app. So if you came to us through the app and you are now at the website, which is thechosen.tv/payitforward. I will not sing the jingle just yet. I will sing the jingle later, I promise. But if you're at thechosen.tv/payitforward, you're also watching us there as well. And you are able to chat in the YouTube chat box off to the right of the video and engage. There are literally thousands of people right now who are joining you in this live stream and who love The Chosen. And the chat box gets crazy sometimes, but it's really fun. You can really meet and chat with a lot of people who share the same passions that you do. Now, what we're doing tonight, be right up front as to what kind of the goals are for tonight. We're going to try not to take up too much of your time, but some of that may depend on you, and I'll explain why. So one of the main things we're trying to do tonight is we're trying to finance episode 1. Okay, so if you see at the bottom of the app, you'll see that there's essentially, I don't call it a timeline, but it basically lists out the 8 episodes, and it gives you an indication of how far we are from financing the entire season 2. What is the most common question that I get every single day? When is season 2 coming out? I get that not only from the fans, I also get that from our fellow actors who are sitting here in the room with me, because they're eager to work and they are eager to get back to this story and to telling these great stories. And so we want season 2 to come out as soon as possible. We want to make it as soon as possible. And to do season 2 is going to be somewhere around $10 million. Sounds like a lot of money, but it's close to what we raised for season 1. So it's obviously very doable. And I'm going to get into all that tonight, but that's one of the things we're trying to do tonight. We're also, tonight is a deadline for this merchandise. So you see this phenomenal t-shirt that I'm wearing right now that says "Get Used to Different." I know that as soon as the live stream started, you were thinking to yourself, you know what, I've heard about shirts like this, but I didn't know shirts this great existed. And now that I've seen it in front of me, I must also own it. Well, tonight happens to be the last night that you can get a Get Used to Different shirt. So write this down. If you can go visit this now if you want to, or you can do it later, but write this down. It's www.thechosenmerch.com. In fact, I'm going to sing the jingle. Here's what. Come join me. This is Nick, George, and Kian from the show, and let's sing the jingle. So let's do it together. www.thechosenmerch.com. Got a little rough at the end there, but it was close enough. Go back to your spots. Okay, so that was much worse than I expected it to be. So www.thechosenmerch.com, in case the tune threw you off. That is the website, thechosenmerch.com. And guess what? Tonight, live stream only. If you are not part of this live stream, you won't know this. This is a 10% discount tonight on all our merch. So if you go to thechosenmerch.com, when you go to order and there's a discount code option, you type in livestream 10, all one word. It's not case sensitive, but livestream and the number 10, all one word, and you will get 10% off all Get Used to Different gear. We've also got the poster there. So the deadline is tonight for that Get Used to Different gear, and that's why we're giving you 10% off. So again, we'll get into more of that later, but that's one of the things that we're doing tonight. I'm also going to take you through 2020. We are in February now, and there's a lot going on right now, but there's a ton to come. And one of the things that we're hoping comes is obviously season 2. But I'm going to talk to you about what it takes to get there and what it takes to actually produce and ultimately distribute to you season 2, or the beginning of season 2. I'm going to bring Ryan Swanson, again, as I mentioned, our head writer, out here at some point later to give you an update on where we're at with the scripts and kind of what our goals are for this year and our timelines. But tonight is about educating you. We have never shied away from giving you information, even detailed information. So we're not hiding the fact of how much money we've raised so far, how much money we're hoping to get to season 2, where we're at in the process. When I talk to Nick and George and Kian a little bit later, we're going to talk about a little bit of behind the scenes of what their experience has been with this show and what they're hoping for in the future. So we're going to be doing all of that tonight. So I've already given you thechosenmerch.com. So www.thechosenmerch.com is where you get the Get Used to Different t-shirts and sweatshirts and the official season 1 poster. You enter that that code Livestream10. But here's the other website that you are going to need to know right now and throughout the live stream and for the rest of the night and for the rest of your lives is thechosen.tv/payitforward. www.thechosen.tv/payitforward. Notice I didn't bring the guys back to sing this time. I think we blew it the first time around. Yeah, me doing it by myself is clearly the winning strategy. So thechosen.tv/payitforward. As I mentioned earlier, if you actually go to that website now, the live stream is embedded in that website, as far as I know. That's the plan. If you don't see that, or if you're struggling, if that's difficult for you, just go back to the YouTube channel. But thechosen.tv/payitforward is where I'm hoping you will spend some of your time tonight. And here's why. If you haven't heard about our Pay It Forward program, I'm going to give you all the details here in a few minutes. But most of you probably have heard something about it. Here's some really cool things that are debuting tonight on the Pay It Forward page at that website. We are now accepting ACH transactions, which is another way that you can pay it forward. Previously, it was only credit card. Now we offer ACH transactions. If you don't know what that means, and don't worry about it. I had to be educated myself. I didn't know what it meant a year and a half ago. I've learned a lot over the last year what it means. But if you do know what it means, and you're like, oh, good, that makes it much easier. It's just one more way to pay it forward. We are also debuting tonight subscriptions. Yes, and I don't even like that word very much because it feels like you're overly committed to something. So don't be too scared off by that word. But so many of you have asked every single day, what about a monthly pay it forward? What if we can just automatically contribute to people seeing this around the world? Well, we are debuting subscriptions. You will now have the opportunity to commit to a monthly payment of paying it forward. So I'm really excited about that because it just makes things easy. And so many of you, I actually was surprised a little bit by how many of you expressed a desire to do that. And obviously, we'd prefer that. It's a great way to just kind of partner with us and make it be something that you're doing for a longer period of time. So that is at the website, thechosen.tv/payitforward. So that is the best way to do it. The best way to do the pay it forwards is at the website. So let's go into right now. We're going to talk a little bit about 2020. I'm going to start with what our goals are and kind of work our way backwards. So the very earliest that we're going to be able to release episodes of season 2 is likely Thanksgiving. Okay, so everything that I'm about to say is goals and estimates. So I'm not locking into anything, but our goal is the earliest in 2020 that we would be able to release something is Thanksgiving. Working backwards, that would mean that we would need to be shooting by sometime early this summer. So in 2019, if you remember, we were shooting in the summer miserably because it was the Texas heat was miserable, but that allowed us to be finished in time to release episodes 5 through 8, 4 episodes by Thanksgiving, which would mean that pre-production, which is that period of time where we're visiting the location, locking in where we're going to be shooting, offices are set up, we're hiring the crew, hiring the cast, people are starting to fly in and prepare. That's usually a 6 to 8 week process. That would need to start sometime around April, May or so. So that does present a few problems, and I'll go through them now. And here's where you can help, whether it's in prayer or whether it's in actually contributing to season 2. One of the things that we've been discussing over the last month or so is this routine that we've been doing of 4 episodes at a time, episodes 1 through 4, and then we did episodes 5 through 8. That's half a year later. That is not necessarily sustainable for several reasons. 1, actor availability. It's tough to pin people down. 2, it's significantly more expensive to do it that way because you're basically doing pre-production twice. 3, just a lot of us, especially me, but who's there the entire time, but some of us, we have families, and usually shooting involves travel, and it becomes very difficult to shoot, for 2.5 months, 3 months, including pre-production, twice within 1 year. And so it's looking to us like it would potentially, I'm not saying for sure, but it potentially makes sense to shoot all 8 episodes at once, even if we're not releasing all 8 at once, but to shoot all 8 episodes at once. And that saves at least $1 million. That saves at least 1.5 to 2 months of time by doing it that way. And so that's something that's really on our minds. Well, to do that, we've got to have 8 scripts finished. We've got to have the financing finished. And so to have a chance of releasing at least some of the episodes by Thanksgiving, we have to jumpstart now. I mean, we have to get moving now, and we have to get serious and about the financing that we bring to the table, and that you, of course, bring to the table with your purchases and with your pay it forwards. So the goal for tonight is, by the end of the night, it would be so great if I could look at the bottom of the app and see that that we have financed episode 1 of season 2. To have episode 1 totally financed, it's just a great goal to shoot for. Now, I'd love for us, of course, tonight to get going into episode 2. That's significant because by Easter of this year, if we want to have any chance of getting at least episodes 1 through 4 underway and released, or at least the first episode, whether we release it 1 a week or whether we release them all at once, that's something we'll figure out later. But we need to have the first 4 episodes financed by Easter. And so if we do that, then that allows us to know and project that we're going to be able to do the whole season a few months after that. And we can get the process started. We can launch into pre-production. We will at least have the first 4 scripts written by that point. And then we can decide if we're going to open up investment again. That's not a guarantee. We may not open up investment again. We hope to not. We want to get to a point where our original investors, we don't have to keep going back to old investors or to new investors for more finance. And we'd love to get to the point where the show is starting to pay for itself. That's the goal. And the faster we can start doing that, the better. And that's what this Pay It Forward program is all about. What buying DVDs and books is all about. Buying merchandise is all about. It all contributes towards season 1. Episode 1, where we're at currently, we actually just passed $1 million shortly before the live stream started. The budget for episode 1 is going to probably be about 1.25. So $1,250,000 times 8 is $10 million for all 8 episodes. So doing that tonight would just be a great way to jumpstart 2020 and let us be confident that we can get to episodes 1 through 4 financing by Easter. So again, the main thing that I want to emphasize to you, this is the headline, is that we can't guarantee that we're going to release episodes by Thanksgiving. But if we want to even have a shot of releasing some episodes by Thanksgiving, we must have episodes 1 through 4 financed by Easter. And it would be a great start and a great vote of confidence for all of us to know that we have episode 1 financed just tonight, just to know that you are with us in this and that you're seeing the value. Now, how do we do that? How do we finance episode 1 tonight? How do we finance 1 through 4 by Easter? How do we get the whole season financed in time to be shooting it this year? I'm going to go ahead and share from the heart because this project is tough. There's no magic pill. There's no big studio or TV network that is writing a big check that allows us to just greenlight. You hear that term a lot coming from Hollywood, is greenlit. Is the project greenlit? And when the project is greenlit, that means that the studio that is worth billions of dollars is writing a check for however much money that show or that movie is happening or is requiring, and they're going in. It's done. When people say to us, "Are you greenlit for season 2?" the answer is not yet. And here's why: because we know that we are creating something brand new. The way that this show was financed is a brand new thing. We're the #1 highest crowdfunded media project of all time in season 1. The content itself is new. It's the first ever multi-season show about the life of Christ. The way that it's being watched is brand new. This technology that allows you to use the app, to download the app to your phone and connect directly to your streaming devices without needing a subscription. The fact that we're able to offer it to you for free, at least the first few episodes of each season, offered to you for free, to where the only way that that people need to pay for it is either to wait to see it for free. And I'm not saying perfectly, but track with me. To wait to see it for free until more free streams open up, or for us and you to pay it forward. And that is the way that this is happening. This whole concept of get used to different is what this show has been all about. And to do that, to create something new, is heartrending, and it's like feels like crawling on glass sometimes. We are scratching and clawing for everything. My wife and kids and the wives and kids of my partners and the partners over at VidAngel are making a big sacrifice for this new thing. It's a lot easier when you just know going into it that the check has been written and you can just go right into production and you don't have to worry about the financing. We're creating something totally new that's going to last for decades. And so some of you have even said, well, why don't we just put this on Netflix? Or why doesn't it just go on TV? Well, that's not always up to us. But even if it was, we wouldn't necessarily want to do that because we are creating something brand new. We are creating a system that will allow us to continue to reach every country in the world with a push of a button. Where we're not competing with other streaming services, where they don't have to pay a big fee just to access the streaming service monthly, where we can get the chosen directly to the people. And all of that requires blood, tears, literally. It requires mistakes. It requires learning lessons. Not everything about this process has been smooth. We've made some mistakes. We've made some decisions that we, looking back on, wish we would have done differently. But it's all been part of the process of figuring out how to do a new thing. Isaiah 43:19, behold, I am doing a new thing. The Harmons, who run VidAngel, and my partner, Daryl, and myself, I mean, sleep is at a premium at this point. I mean, it happens quite often where it's 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm up responding to comments on Facebook, or I'm developing an idea for the next thing. And it turns out that Jeffrey is on at the same time. Jeffrey's up at the same time, Jeffrey Harmon, one of the co-founders of VidAngel. And why? Because we're sleeping on the floor on this. This is our thing. It is something that we feel a tremendous responsibility, not only to you, but to God, to get this right and to build something that's going to last forever. And our team, that, the people who are churning out the videos for you on social media and keeping the social media going, there's not a lot of, I mean, they're underpaid, but we're working to respond to every single comment because we want to connect. We believe that every single one of you matters. And so we're trying to respond to all of our comments, or like all of the comments that we get, trying to engage as much as possible. This project is way bigger than we are, and it requires way more than we are capable of. And because of that, God is going to have to feed the 5,000. We're not capable of doing it ourselves, but we do need you to provide the loaves and fishes with us. And if you can provide those loaves and fishes, and we're providing those loaves and fishes, and we're making them as good and healthy as they can be, then when they are grown, and when God does do that thing that only He can do, that we're not capable of doing on our own, then it's really going to change the world. But to accomplish that and to pull that off, it requires these kind of live streams. But I don't want to be a fundraising machine. I don't want us to be televangelists. We're not a nonprofit, begging for money. We don't want to be doing that. My goal is to actually stop doing these kinds of live streams. I don't necessarily love asking for your help. It's sometimes a pride swallowing thing. If I could come on and say, hey, look, I'm ready. Here's season 2. I know sometimes it's annoying to get notifications for the next live stream. And wouldn't it be great if we could do live streams in the future that were solely reserved for fun and for building our community and for watching episodes together? But these live streams are necessary because we need you to partner with us in what I'm talking about in reaching the world. And in doing that, we do want to provide value. Like I said, we're not a nonprofit who's just asking you to give us money. We are trying to provide something of significant value to you. And so these methods, these are kind of the ways that we are generating the income for future seasons. I'm going to list them now. One of them is merchandise. I hinted at it earlier. One of the benefits of purchasing merchandise is that, yes, the proceeds of the merchandise does go to future episodes and seasons. And we've made the merchandise high quality. The shirt that I'm wearing right now is one of the most comfortable shirts I have. The sweatshirt, I have a Against the Current Chosen sweatshirt that we're going to be offering here soon in a little bit, in a couple weeks. It's the most comfortable sweatshirt I own. We're really trying to make sure that like the show, everything we do is of high quality. So we're not asking you to just donate money. We're actually giving you something in return that you're actually going to want to wear. The benefits of purchasing merchandise in the goal of financing season 1 or season 2 or financing episode 1 is the money does get to us a little quicker. The margins are a little higher. We're able to, we don't have to spend much money at all on marketing. In fact, I don't think we spent a dime on marketing merchandise. So that's really cool. It helps, it allows us to kind of keep the trains running and keep the lights on as we're doing something bigger, which I'll get to you in just a minute. So it doesn't require a ton of effort on the logistics side of things. We have a third-party team who handles all that kind of stuff. When you go to thechosenmerch.com to get it, which I hope you're going to do tonight at some point, it's all done pretty easily, and it doesn't require a ton of effort on our part. But yet all of those shirts, all of those sweatshirts, the official season 1 poster, all of that stuff, when you purchase it, it does go towards future seasons. And the other really cool thing about it is that when you buy that stuff, you become an evangelist for the show. When you're wearing shirts like this, or shirts with the logo on it, or shirts that say Binge Jesus on it, all that stuff starts getting those phrases out to the world. People start wondering what that means. And we're also trying to do more than just promotional stuff. We're not trying to just give you a sweatshirt or a t-shirt that just says The Chosen on it. And it just becomes kind of crass that way. It's like, here, for 30 bucks, you can buy a sweatshirt and it'll say The Chosen. We're actually trying to provide some phrases and some meanings and some calls to action in many ways. Get Used to Different is a line from episode 7 of season 1. Binge Jesus is a show that causes a lot of, when I wear that sweatshirt, people kind of look at like, what does that mean? We can explain, well, it's actually the first ever multi-season show about the life of Christ, and you can binge Jesus with it. So we're trying to create a bit of a movement here, and so I think that that's one of the main benefits of the merchandise as well. And so our goal is through merchandise alone, if we could finance just 1 episode out of the 8, just for merchandise alone, that would be a great goal. So that's one of the ways that we're doing it. It's not the best way, it's not the comprehensive way, but it's one of the really good ways of doing it. The second way is, of course, DVDs and books. Some of you don't own a DVD player, you don't care about DVDs. You do care about owning books. And so the devotional book that we did, season 1, has had tremendous impact. Thousands and thousands of people have gotten those books. Some people have started group studies around those books and have told us that it has made a huge difference because it goes deeper into the stories of the Gospels and goes deeper into the people of the Gospels in a way that you can't get in a show. And so there's 40 devotional entries. It's a really cool thing. The DVDs also have those Bible roundtables some of you have seen. They're really cool. We've released some clips from them, but where we talk to our Bible experts and our historical experts and our religious and cultural experts to talk about these episodes and to talk about some of the scenes and break them down and go deeper into it. We talk about what we got right, what we got wrong, and it really allows you to go deeper into these stories and into these scenes in a way that you can't get anywhere else. And so those are on the DVDs, so we're trying to provide value there. But when you buy DVDs and books, if you go to the gift factory that's on the app, or you go to the website, which is thechosen.tv/store, www.thechosen.tv/store. Write that down. You don't have to go there right now, but we also offer you the ability to buy bulk DVDs and bulk books so you can give them to ministries. And so we even have a $10,000 option. We call it one of our big backer packages, where for $10,000 you can get hundreds of DVDs and books that you could give to a ministry, but it also allows you the opportunity to be a partner with us and gets you a set visit and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of really cool things about that. But that's another way, a really cool way that allows you to partner with us on the project, goes towards future episodes and seasons, and also allows you to be able to give gifts. And having things that are tangible is oftentimes more beneficial to people than streaming or apps. So having the book, especially, having the book on your bookshelf, being able to hand it to someone, say, this really blessed me, being able to hand a DVD is a really cool opportunity for you to share it. Now, also, with all of these things that I just mentioned, posting pictures on social media of the shirts, posting pictures on social media of the books and the DVDs allows more word to spread. It gives you an excuse to post something. But that leads me to the third method, and this is the biggest and most important method, and it's the one that's the longest term. This is more of a long-term play. It does move a little bit slower because the costs of paying it forward, as I've told you before, are significant. And here's why. The reason Pay It Forward exists is because our goal is to allow people around the world to watch the show for free. Now, if we just made it available for free completely and didn't ask you to pay it forward, we would lose potentially millions of dollars. The Chosen right now, because of those of you who have paid it forward, is literally in every country in the world. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not summarizing. It is in every country in the world. It is currently being translated in as many languages as we can try to catch up with. It is growing like crazy. We've gone viral in the Philippines. We're one of the top 100 entertainment apps in Iran. I'm going to talk to you later about what's happening in China. I mean, it is phenomenal what the show is doing because of you paying it forward. If you weren't paying it forward and we just tried to make it free, streaming costs money. I've said this to some, you may have heard this before, but not everyone has. And I know it's something that I didn't know, but I didn't realize that every time you stream an episode of a show on anything, it actually costs the streamer money. And so it does cost us money to make streams available for free to other people. And because of that, it's a laborious and difficult thing to do, to make these, to create this Pay It Forward program. So that's one of the challenges of it, but the benefits are so huge. And here's why. Because when you pay it forward, as I said, you're allowing people around the world to see it for free. And also, this is how a large portion of that Pay It Forward goes towards future episodes and seasons. It's got this double value. And I'm actually going to read to you. I actually have a note from someone in India. I wanted to share this with you just a minute ago, but I forgot. But I have this note from someone in India who said this: "Tears rolling out of my eyes. I am a Muslim, and it is Muslim responsibility to respect Jesus and the Bible. Thank you once again." So think about that. That is someone who doesn't necessarily align with us on a spiritual level, doesn't necessarily believe the same things we do, but the show is getting to them. And it actually said, tears are rolling out of my eyes. And now they are going to be watching this show. And I know some of you have that motive and that passion to get this show not only to Christians around the world, but to people of different faiths, and to show them an authentic Jesus and to plant seeds for this story. And so when you're paying it forward, you're doing that. And that in and of itself is what we're going to be planning to do for the next several decades, is to continue to make sure that this show gets in front of the eyeballs of as many people as possible. Our goal is at least 1 billion people around the world. Again, that sounds like a lot, but it's actually every day becoming more and more possible as we see how much people love the show. And as we're able to continue to pay it forward and get money for different translations, different languages, which we'll talk about down the road. But this is the way, because when you get it in front of those people, then they become evangelists for the show. And they start spreading the word about the show in their country, which is like what's happening in the Philippines and in Iran. So this is the engine that is going to drive this show long term. When you go to www.thechosen.tv/payitforward, www.thechosen.tv/payitforward. Actually, might bring you guys back sometime soon, because I'm starting to lose yeah, no, I was a little flat near the end. But when you go to thechosen.tv/payitforward, that is the engine that's going to drive this show long term. I do want you to buy the merchandise. I do want you to buy the shirts and the sweatshirts. That makes a big difference too. I do want you to buy the books and the DVDs. And there are some really cool updates that are happening with those. Like, for example, right now, my wife and Kristen Hendricks, her co-writer, are working on the season 2 devotional book. We're also in discussions with Focus on the Family, one of the largest organizations in the world, for curriculum that we're going to be able to get to you as well. So hopefully before the end of the year, curriculum for this show that's going to allow for Bible studies. I mean, all of those things are important, and they all add value to your life, and they add value to the lives of other people, and they do build the audience for the show, and they take you deeper into these stories. All of that stuff is important. And it keeps the trains moving, and it keeps the lights on, and it's low risk, and it builds community. But the pay it forward option, the pay it forward plan, that is the big long-term play. That is, and even the word play is probably the wrong word, because I don't want you to be distracted from the seriousness of it. It is the global engine. It is the thing that's going to drive this forward. And one thing that I want to be very clear, and I want, if you've listened to nothing else, I want you to listen to this right now, and this matters for tonight. When you pay it forward, you are not only financing episode 1, which is our goal for tonight, you're financing season 8. What do I mean by that? We're wanting this show to be 8 seasons. That is our goal. We believe that that's possible, and we believe that over the course of those 8 seasons, it's going to probably cost in the neighborhood of $100 million. You might be thinking $100 million sounds ridiculous. Well, if you think about a show like Game of Thrones, their budget for that 8 seasons, they did 8 seasons, and their budget was close to $1 billion. We don't need anywhere close to that. But $100 million to finance the first 8 seasons is very doable, especially considering that season 1, based on a short film I did on my friend's farm in Illinois, we were able to raise $10 million and shatter the crowdfunding record. It's very doable. It's extremely doable. And the way that we're going to get there is not by every single year coming back to you and saying, all right, let's try again. Let's raise money for season 3. Let's raise money for season 4. Let's add even more investors to the way that we're going to accomplish this, if we have a chance of getting to 8 seasons, is the pay it forward model. That is the engine. That is the driving force. And that is what I want to get in your head, because of I want you to think of it in 2 ways. One is, as I said, the people that it gets in front of. Pay it forward is how people are going to be able to watch this. Okay? Around the world, that is the method. Pay it forward. That is how people can afford to see it for free, or how we can afford to give it to them for free. But I want you to recognize that when you're doing that, this is the long-term play. The long-term method to get to 8 seasons is pay it forward. And so I want to say this again. Tonight, I want you to consider that as you are helping finance episode 1, you're also helping finance season 8. Because eventually this engine will catch up to the fact that it starts to just generate itself, and I don't have to keep coming back to you. So please consider that. Please make that a priority if you're capable. If you're not, that's totally fine too. We covet your prayers. We covet your support. We covet your spreading of the word. I want you to do what you're capable of. Just know that when you do, when you do watch a season because of others who paid it forward, I do hope you consider at least thanking them. We have that option that you can thank in the app when you watch it, because we're trying to build this community, and I know that that's a great motivation for you, so I really appreciate that. So one thing I'm going to do real quick, I got a couple things I want to introduce you to. So I'm going to take out these earbuds. So hopefully, I assume you can still hear me. But I want to show you something that's going to kind of illustrate what this pay it forward is. And I just got a note right now. Right now we are at 1.143, which means that tonight, because I know we just passed around $1 million around the live stream when it started, $143,000 already. So that is really phenomenal. Some of that has come in from merchandise, some of that has come in from DVD buys, and then of course pay it forwards. So that is phenomenal. So please keep that up. And that means that we're essentially a little under $100,000 left will finance episode 1 and get us off to that amazing start. So that's incredible. So thank you so much for that. All right. So one thing I want you to see, in fact, I'm going to bring him out now. This is Nick Shakur, and George and Kean are also here. And I want you guys, why don't you guys go sit in this area right here. That's George, and that's Kean, John and James. And this is Nick. And Nick played Zebedee in season 1. I hope you recognize him. I've asked Nick to read something. He has not actually read it yet. But this is a note that we got about a week and a half ago from a mother in China. And the note is pretty self-explanatory. But the reason I wanted you to read it is because Nick is someone with a really big heart. We're going to talk to him in just a minute. But I wanted you to know some of the impact that your work is having on other people. And I want you, as you're watching, about some of the impact that this show is having around the world, particularly in China, especially during this coronavirus. So nice and loud, please, because this is the mic. But
yeah,
go ahead and read this note.
So this says, Chosen came into our site just after the government announces to cancel any gatherings and stay home for our own safety. We watched 2 episodes in the evening with our TV connected to the phone. I'm the one who has the best understanding of English in the family. The other 6 members, including my husband and 5 children, struggle through the lines, but from my own observation, the language barrier lessen their enjoyment and the eagerness for the show. When one of the episodes finishes, the children begs me for another. During the day, I get to participate in translation of Chinese subtitles, hoping to offer my skill of interpretation as my pieces of fish and loaves to offer to God. It is hard to measure and describe the encouragement The Chosen has blessed our long days. Sorry.
Yeah, it's awesome.
At this difficult time, and how it lifts our spirits and draws our hearts to Jesus. I watch when my kids stare at Jesus. He brushes his teeth, washes his feet, and tries to start fire with their mouths wide open. The Lord's figure has become more and more real in the hearts of many children, of my children, as they come closer to his life. We are not from the coronavirus hit area, but we stand with our folks there, fighting the same battle. Tough.
I'll finish it off for you.
Go for it.
With fighting the same battle with spiritual weapons. Thank you again for allowing us the opportunity to view The Chosen. He is doing new things. So when we hear things like that, we hear something similar to that almost every day from around the world. I know that that's what Paying It Forward does. And one of the reasons that I wanted Nick to read that is because your story of being involved with this project is not traditional. I'll sum up real quickly how I cast him. He came in and read for Shmuel, and I liked him. He was clearly a great actor, and he brought a lot of things to it that I thought, boy, he'd be perfect for Zebedee. Now, even though Zebedee is actually, as we wrote him, was in his
50
50s.
years old.
Yeah, and Nick is
50.
Nick is in his 30s. But
I've developed a complex because of this guy.
Yes. But he gave such a beautiful performance, both the seriousness of it, that I knew he'd be perfect for Zebedee. So when we cast you, I expected to hear back pretty quickly. Oh, he's excited and he's eager for it. But you were in a different spot in your life, and talk about what you were facing. You at first just decided you didn't want to do it because you didn't feel like the part was right for you. What, even while you were facing, once you decided to do it, and you were flying over to Texas to shoot, what was kind of going through your head?
Yeah, it was so insane. So I found out I get the role from my agent, and all of a sudden, like you were saying, instead of being happy about it, it's hard to describe. I was just kind of flooded with a lot of negative feelings.
Yeah. You actually told me at one point, you were like, I
multiple
like
voices going on
voices in my head. Yeah,
like at least 4 or 5 or something like that. And
you can talk here, by the way.
I could talk to everybody. Okay,
yes.
That's good. Yes. And so finally, after a lot of back and forths, I turned the project down twice. And my manager was like, you can do what you want, sweetie, as she calls me. And you can do what you want, honey. But I ended up saying, fine, if they're willing to work with my schedule, I'm down to do it. And I couldn't explain why I didn't want to do it, because usually when you book something, you're happy about it. You're not, oh gosh, I booked a job. No, I don't want to do it. So I get to Texas, and I get along with everybody instantly. These guys, everybody, even you. And it was a great 3 or 4 days, and they were shooting the miracle, the fish scene, and we were due to shoot it the next day. We were going to finish it off where I send my sons out.
You've been here for a couple of days, and it was going well. You were like, at least the people are cool.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah, it was nice.
A nice mood.
Yeah.
And then, I get a random call from my brother-in-law saying that my dad.
Remember.
I thought it'd be easier to talk about this, but it's still not easy.
Yeah.
That basically he had just experienced a heart attack out of the blue. And so I was kind of faced with a choice of leaving to fly back to California or staying in Texas.
You got the news late at night too. I mean,
I was at the restaurant with the guys. I couldn't even finish my baby back ribs.
Right.
And so it was weird because one voice was telling me, you got to go. What kind of a son, stay here, and you got to be with your family. And then there was a smaller voice that said, basically, I just sat there and meditated on it. said, you know, if you leave now, then everything, something to the extent of everything that you've believed in me so far is, if you leave now, you don't believe in my power.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, that's odd that thought came to my mind out of all the thoughts of where do I book the flight? You know, how do I get out of here?
Right.
And if it was any other production, I would have left, no, hands down. And so I just made the choice of, you know, I'm just going to let God, for the first time in my life, kind of dictate what the situation was going to be. And I'm just going to stay here and finish what I started. Right. And so, you know, the next day, everybody was just great about it.
You told me about how Justin Overlander, who some know, one of our associate producers, was there with you that night.
Yeah, he was. He came to pick us up in the morning, and I walked into the lobby, and he was being goofy with me at 5 a.m. because he knows I'm a big jokester. And he just looked at me like, what's wrong? So I was just pale. And I just kind of broke down and started crying. And he just hugged me right away. And it was just saying those words of, you know, my dad had a heart attack. Oh, my God. And he was great about, you know, just being supportive along with some of the other producers that came and told me they were praying for my dad. And that, you know, that kind of spiritual moral support I've never experienced on a set. And so when all was said and done, I flew back when we took that short break before shooting the hammer scene. Flew back, went to the hospital. And it was, damn, I'm such a crybaby. It was insane because when the doctor came in, he told us that when they finally, I was going to be better at this.
Yeah, no, this is real though. I mean, this is what we do.
When they put his heart in, they were about to jump him as they do with the patients. And they said the minute they put his heart in, all his vitals kicked in and they just started working. So he held the nurses back and he was like, wait. And then he told me, he said, oh, it's going to be online forever. When he basically told me, he leaned over and he was just like, he was acting like it was just another day at the office for him. It wasn't a big deal. And I'll never forget his words. He's like, by the way, he's like, your dad should have actually passed away because all 3 of his arteries were done. But he was like, you know, this is a miracle what happened. And I just kind of smiled and I was like, yeah, it was.
And it's so, like I think the comfort that you felt to stay was.
I did, or I wouldn't have stayed.
Yeah, and there was a reason for it because I think it was, and this show from day one has been in the hands of someone bigger than us. And I just loved. Yeah, I wanted you to know that you're being impacted by the show and that Mother in China is being impacted by the show, but we're being impacted as well. Our lives are being impacted by that. And I love the story of what happened while you were shooting, but I also wanted you to read that note because you staying impacted people who watch the show. Your work is having a tremendous impact on people all over the world right now. So love you, brother.
I love you too.
Yeah. All right. George, try to follow that.
Who's in the hot seat next?
George does get extra points because look what he's wearing.
Oh yeah, I'm wearing merch. How's that?
Yeah. So that will be back at some point. But George, I know your story isn't quite as dramatic as Nick's. But as you may have heard from George's accent, he's from Australia.
That's right. G'day. How's it going?
Yes. And one of the cool things about George was that he auditioned for 2 different roles.
Every other role.
That he didn't play. But he came in at the end of the first day of filming, or first day of casting, and auditioned for Simon, and was terrific, but didn't quite fit what I had in mind. And I think we'd already seen Shahar, and it seemed like Shahar seemed part of what we were looking for. But I'm like, I got to work with this guy in something. So I had you come back the very next day and read for Quintus, who is the opposite of Simon in many ways, or the opposite of what we were thinking. What for people who don't know, why is saying come back and read for a different role the kind of thing that is not quite as easy as it sounds? Give us like a 30-second version of why that's far more difficult than people think.
Oh, well, because there's 8 pages you got to sort of learn by the next day. That's one of the things. And then,
well, for you, because some people might say, well, I can't do it, so I'm just going to come in and read. But George is a professional to the nth degree. And I think one of the reasons why his performance has been so great is because of this. You wanted to come in prepared and be off book, as we say, which means no script. So 24 hours.
I mean, that's what it's like in Australia. That they don't really like you holding the script in Australia, and then you come here and they're like, just hold the script, just hold it. They don't like you coming in without it. So I've had to learn. So I was still quite green in terms of the American experience.
I was very impressed.
Yeah, I came in going, I don't want to know about the script. I know it all. I know every line. So yeah, but it was tough. But you know what? I tell you what, they always a lot of actors, and the other two will say this as well. When stuff is written well, you can remember it easier. And I tell you what, I remembered it really quickly. So that gets a testament to how well the show has been written and the way it's been made. So it wasn't hard to learn.
And we'll be bringing out the man responsible for, especially a lot of the Quintus scenes, is Ryan, who's I'm going to bring him out in just a couple minutes here to talk about the writing. But yeah, the writing of Quintus, I think, is juicy. And Brandon does a brilliant job playing Quintus.
Can I say, I mean, it's great. I don't mean to say like, oh, thank goodness I didn't get that role, but yes, because I feel more connected to John, but also great job. Our Quintus is so incredible. It just worked out perfectly. It whatever you guys saw in what I did with Simon and Quintus that we landed on John, which I'm sure you'll get to. It's worked out the right way, you know, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. Well, my wife is the one who really pointed out to me. I mean, I love George and I wanted to work with him in something, but she said, he's John. He has the combination of strength and spirit and heart that John has, as we know from the book of John, the book that John wrote. He's emotional, but he's also very passionate. In fact, John and James were called the sons of thunder because they were so passionate and intense.
I feel like this is I don't know what that is. Sons of Thunder.
I'm going to apologize for that. But yeah, just spoiler alert, in season 2, episode 1, we do start to introduce why they're called the Sons of Thunder, and we bring in that nickname for the first time. So just a quick spoiler alert. But just real quick, because there's a lot of other things we want to cover tonight, but talk about playing the Apostle John. John is probably one of the most famous men in history, much less in Christianity. He wrote one of the primary books of the Bible. He wrote John chapter 3, which is the most famous chapter in the Bible, and the most famous verse. In fact, in episode 7, when Nicodemus and Jesus are meeting on the roof and having John chapter 3, that discussion, we cut briefly to you outside taking notes because we know that results in John chapter 3.
To learn all those lines.
Right. Yeah. So, but just talk briefly about, as an actor, playing a part that's so historically significant. And in fact, in the Gospels, John described himself as the disciple Jesus loved. I mean, he was a big deal. Jesus actually trusted him with his mother. On the cross, he says to John, "You are now her son." And it's basically, I'm entrusting her to you. Huge biblical figure.
Yeah.
Just talk briefly about playing a part like that, what the research is for that, and how you kind of withstand some of the pressures of doing that.
Well, it's an incredible honor to play, you know, John. I mean, it's incredible because I remember when I got, you know, it was, you guys said we want you to play, you know, John the Apostle, and it's, you know, you don't know what you think about it at the time, but it couldn't be more perfect, literally. I mean, we're very similar in our characters as well. And I came to learn that, you know, when you do your research, and there's a lot of good resources online, and also in the Bible, where they will associate characteristics with specific excerpts out of the Bible to give you an idea as to why they feel this way. But, you know, it says someone that was quite hot-headed, but learnt a lot from Jesus. And it's incredible because I also feel that way on set with Jonathan. I mean, Jonathan,
who plays Jesus,
who plays Jesus. I mean, it's great because I'm getting this synergy between how I am as a person and also how John is, or how John was. And it's an incredible honor to play that character. But, you know, those characteristics are initially a form of instinct or to do something. But then there's that moment of thought, and then, okay, let's see how we deal with this in a specific way. So you've got the passion, but also the measured way of dealing with it.
Yeah, fitting the macro level part of the character into the script, into the lines that you have to say. And I think what our job is to write lines that fit and that make sense easily. And then your job is to bring something unique to the part. And when you're playing a historical figure, it's a little bit more, I think, challenging when you know that you have to also kind of live up to the history of it. So anyway, I just wanted you to meet George because his role is only going to continue to grow in these seasons because John takes a pretty significant role as it goes on.
And I mean, you've mentioned this a lot as well, like your inspirations as television shows. You've mentioned Breaking Bad before.
Right.
When you have a lot of these shows, and that's what's incredible about this is that, it's historical and we're telling true stories here, but at the same time, it is a television show. And what's incredible is the way that the show has introduce the characters, and it's like when you begin watching something like Breaking Bad and you see a character that's small and then later on they become this massive figure. I'm not going to try and say that John's going to be this massive figure, but he probably will be. He's the one at the cross. He's sitting there at the foot of the cross. He's the last person to sort of sit there and grieving Jesus on the cross. So
spoiler alert, Jesus dies.
But
then there's a better ending, so we'll get to that later.
Yeah. But it's great that this is also a television series that you can invest in, and there's characters like Zebedee that we only get small excerpts from, but becomes this incredible character,
a three-dimensional person as opposed to just a word in one verse.
That's also incredible that all you guys get to come on that journey with us, not only just looking at historical facts, but also a television show. It's great. But yeah.
Well, thanks, man.
Beautiful.
Love you too.
Thanks, mate.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Kian, come on in. One of the reasons why you keep hearing these voices like comes from episode 4 when Zebedee says go to his sons and with a lot of verbs. So we like making fun of him. So here's what's interesting about Kian, and here's why I wanted to talk to you just briefly is in episodes 1 through 4, you don't actually see Kian. The part of James was actually played by a different actor who unfortunately couldn't make it for the second half of the season. And that was, of course, not great news, but it did allow us to get Kian into the show. And you had actually auditioned for the first 4 episodes for the role of Simon.
Yeah.
And did you one you auditioned for?
No, I did.
Yeah.
Simon and Matthew, I did. Someone else. I did like 3 times. I auditioned like 3 times.
So I think you did Simon and Matthew for episodes 1 through 4.
For 1 to 4.
And then we went to episodes 5 through 8, and you auditioned for Thomas.
Thomas, that's what it was, yeah.
And every time he auditioned, I thought, I really like this guy. And my wife loved him too. And again, as you know, my wife is a co-casting director with our great casting directors. But the final decisions are mine, and my wife is as much a part of that as me. And she kept, and so when Cheyenne couldn't come back, she said, it's Kian. Kian is James. Don't need to audition. Don't need to look at other people. Kian's the guy. And so what I wanted to ask you about was twofold. Yes, I want to get into a little bit of playing a historical figure and what that's like. Right. Real quick, side note, while I'm thinking of it, what is your accent? What is your,
I was actually born and raised in Germany.
Yeah.
And then I moved to England, and then after that I moved to New York, and now I'm here in LA for a year.
So it's a combination of German, British, and New York.
It's pretty much, yeah.
Because I have never heard an accent like yours. Yeah, it's quite unattractive. I'm going to say that. No,
it's over.
So, but anyway, but also coming into a show like this, it's very difficult when there's already a group of people that have connected. And Cheyenne, who played James in the episodes 1 through 4, was a great guy, and we had built a community there. And so I remember being concerned a little bit, like, is it going to be tough for you to come in and feel like you fit in, especially in a family like this? Talk about what it was like coming to the set of The Chosen.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, I was scared because I got that call, and 3 days later they flew me out to Texas, and I just didn't know what happened. And then Dallas sent me those private links where I could actually follow and catch up on the show. And that's when I actually noticed that I'm actually panicking. I'm just scared because I had pretty big shoes to fill, and Sharon did a pretty great job. And I had to find a way in a short amount of time to continue where he left off and still bring certain nuances like my characteristics into it, which made it really tough. And considering that I arrived at a set and I didn't know anyone, and I just landed. And funny story, at the airport, actually, I met Giovanni, and I didn't know it's Giovanni. He was sitting right next to me.
Giovanni plays Thaddeus.
Thaddeus,
Yeah.
exactly. He was sitting next to me, and then I kind of had the urge of talking to him, and he just looked at me and said, "Hey, what's up, man?" I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" And then it ended up actually at the airport when we landed in Texas that George and Giovanni were actually there picking me up, and that was the first one where I felt like, okay, you know, it seemed pretty cool. It's comfortable. I don't feel too I kind of feel like this can go somewhere. And then I arrived at the set, and I was kind of worried because I could see they all had their spiel, they all had their thing going on, their
the inside jokes.
Inside jokes.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how to do this. Like, I don't know if I fit in there. And the first day I just went on set. And at the end of the day, I must say, with those guys and everyone else on the show, we became one big family. And I felt like I've always been a part of it. I've never been away from it. But I was gone, and now I'm part of it. I just came to it. And I was never a stranger. And I have to say, this is something you don't really see on many sets. You're pretty alone in your corner. You do your preparation, you do whatever you have to do. But once I set foot on set, everyone, even the PAs, the guys here, the cast, Dallas, even everyone was super nice to me. And I was worried that everyone was looking down right now, like, what is this new kid going to do now? Like, replacing the other one, and let's see what he got. And I was super, it didn't matter, because right within the first day, we became a big family, and I was able to act without any obstacles, without anything standing in front of it.
Yeah. Well, it's been great to have you on board, and I think everyone who's come on board in this show, cast and even a lot of the crew, has felt setting it feels different, and that's what this phrase is our motto: get used to different. It applies to so many things. It applies to the content of the show itself. It's a line that Jesus said to Simon Peter in episode 7 when he said, "Get used to different." It kind of defined his ministry. It also has defined how the show has been. And I think when casts come to the set, I think sometimes we are essentially saying, get used to different. This is going to feel different.
Exactly.
And so before I let you go real quick, just playing the part of James, we've talked about the brothers, the sons of thunder, and the impact that they had on in history. Has there been added pressure playing a part that has a lot of meaning for people who are believers in the Gospels? Or have you tried to just kind of separate that and say, listen, I just got to focus on making this a human being?
I mean, I had to do justice. It was a huge responsibility, because I'm actually portraying a biblical figure, and they were actually based on real human beings, real people. So, of course, on one side, you do your preparation as an actor, you just bring whatever research you did, but at the end of the day, you have to be able to bring certain. We had this in the past in another one of those other interviews, that we see them as sculpture, like very static people.
In the past, we've seen these characters as
like very like
stockboard
stuff. So we had to bring life to that, because those people they were actually people having the same problems that we probably have today that are relevant. And I had to bring a certain element of humanity into it without getting too far away from who they actually were. So it was kind of difficult to find a base in between in a short amount of time, but I think it was a huge responsibility, and I hope I did justice.
Yeah, well, you have, and I think one of the cool moments that have happened in episodes 6 and 8 is one, we're establishing James as a bit of a historian, someone who is more logical and measured, and so in episode 6 we see James talk about how he knows the story of the massacre of the innocents. And then in episode 8, when we're going through Samaria, James steps forward and says, whoa, and you start giving a history lesson and now we've used your character to kind of give the audience a bit of a history lesson. So we're going to continue with that. So thank you so much, brother.
Absolutely.
Love you, man, up here.
Thank you.
You guys can go back to your corner. Yes. In just a couple minutes, I'm going to bring out our head writer, Ryan Swanson. But before that, I just want to kind of recap a couple of things we've talked about, kind of remind you of some of the biggest things that we're doing right now and what the goal of tonight is. By the way, I just said Ivan has just paid it forward for 30 episodes. That means 30 people are going to get a chance to watch this show for free because of you. So thank you every time you're doing that. And I got word that since we started the live stream, over $70,000 just from pay it forwards and DVDs have come in. That doesn't include merchandise. That doesn't include some of the pay it forwards that have been coming in even before the live stream started. So keep this up. Our Virginia just paid it forward for 100 episodes. That's so fantastic. And oh yes, that's clapping from the from our actors. They're also saying thank you because that may finance our salaries. Yes, we can work. Yes, that literally is true. Is that when you're paying it forward, you are actually also contributing to making sure that we can pay our cast and crew. That's where this production budget goes to. And some people say, well, why can't the show always be free? Well, the DVDs can't be free, of course, and the pay it forwards are doing this because we actually have to pay for equipment and pay for cast and crew. So, so please keep that in mind. But I just wanted to remind you, so we are getting close to, I don't have the exact number in front of me. I'll probably get that relatively soon, but our goal, at least for tonight, our minimum goal for tonight is to hit 1.25 million, which will finance episode 1 of season 2. So the ways that you can do that, and before I bring out Ryan, I want to talk to you about that. If you want to contribute to making sure that we are able to do finance episode 1, and to remind you, the reason we want to finance episode 1 tonight is it's a great jump start, and it gives us confidence to know that we can have episodes 1 through 4 financed by Easter. If we have episodes 1 through 4 financed by Easter, that significantly increases the chances that we're going to be able to have something released by Thanksgiving. Again, working our way backwards, because we don't have someone writing a big check that we can just get going right away. We need to have 1 through 4 financed by Easter, which will let us know that we could get 5 through 8 and the entire season financed, possibly, if not likely, by the summer, which could increase our chances of releasing something by Thanksgiving. So that's a huge thing. So please tonight consider that. The ways to do that are, I'm going to first bring up thechosenmerch.com. Let's try again. Come back in here. So give it a shot. Give it a shot. So remember, I lead.
I was in the bathroom.
So www.thechosenmerch.com. So you went to the harmonies. Stay on the melody.
Okay, let's do it again.
Don't join in until I say go.
Okay.
So let me finish. So it's www.thechosenmerch.com. There we go. A lot better. Still had some issues, but we're making progress. So thechosenmerch.com. Remember, when you order at thechosenmerch.com tonight, you will be able to get the Get Used to Different t-shirt, the Get Used to Different gear, all these people who've been loving it. You see that up on the screen right now. The discount code when you go to checkout is Livestream10. That's all one word. It's not case sensitive, but Livestream10. If you are outside the United States, shipping is going to be expensive. I'm going to tell that to you right up front, but you can order if you want. There's a email address on the front page that you can email and let them know that you do want to order from overseas. It is possible, even in Australia, George. People can be ordering.
It's available.
It's available. So we have Get Used to Different t-shirts, Get Used to Different sweatshirts, and tonight is the deadline. This is the last night that you are able to get this gear. And when you purchase this merchandise, it is one of the most effective ways to finance future episodes and seasons and allow us to continue to produce these videos that we do for you every week, every day at our social media channels. So please consider at some point tonight, if not right now, at some point tonight, going to thechosenmerch.com. And remember, the discount code is Livestream10, the number 10. Okay, that will get you 10% off everything you order. 10% off across the site. If you order $100 worth of stuff, if you order 10 t-shirts, you're going to get 10% off tonight only on this live stream. Okay. The other thing is DVDs and books. So remember, when you go to thechosen.tv/store, thechosen.tv/store, right up now is the pay it forward option, which I'm going to get to in just a second. But the store is where you can get DVDs and books. You can buy them in bulk. The more you buy, the cheaper it is. We make it on purpose easy for you to buy in bulk. We want you to have these gifts to give out to people. And so when you do that, when you go to www.thechosen.tv/store, there you go. Thank you, guys. Remember, pay attention when you get to the store, and you'll see that you have the option to buy in bulk, and that gives you opportunities to visit the set. It also gives you the opportunity to have multiple DVDs and multiple books. The devotional book, The Chosen 40 Days with Jesus, is fantastic. I'm telling you, it is going to impact you. And when you do that, it allows you to have give gifts. So that's one of the benefits of buying the DVDs and the books, is that it gives you gifts to hand out and spread the word about. But again, the number one thing, long-term, to get this show going and to make sure that we're able to get to 8 seasons, the engine that's going to eventually start to allow the show to sustain itself and not rely on me having to do these live streams all the time, asking you to partner with us. You can do that long-term at thechosen.tv. Pay it forward. www.thechosen.tv/pay it forward. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Okay, that's enough. And starting tonight, you are able to do monthly automatic contributions. Paying it forward monthly automatically is an amazing way to pay it forward. And you also now, at that website, we have an ACH opportunity to do that for the first time. So go to that website and pay it forward. I'm going to bring out one of my dear friends. He's been waiting on the other side of the hotel room. Ryan, come here when you get a moment. He's putting his getting his stuff settled. Ryan didn't have a chair, so he's been kind of uncomfortable. So go ahead and sit here, Ryan. Here's why I'm introducing Ryan to you. You can see right there, and yeah, so you'll be able to look right here into to talk to our viewer. But one of the reasons I'm bringing Brian out, Ryan, sorry, it's been a long night. So one of the reasons I'm bringing Ryan out is because I want to give you the overview of 2020. So I've already talked about this earlier, but if you're just joining us, I want to tell you, and if you've heard it before, I want to remind you of what we're trying to do this year. If our goal is to release at least some of the season by Thanksgiving, and if our goal is also to try to shoot all 8 episodes at once, which, as I mentioned earlier, saves at least $1 million, if not more, saves us at least 1.5 months to 2 months of time, how do we pull that off? Well, Ryan Swanson is our head writer. So we have a 3-person writing team. It's Tyler Thompson, who's out of Chicago, a good friend of mine. We've worked together before. Tyler and I actually co-wrote the Shepherd, the pilot episode, the Christmas pilot episode that you enjoyed. We brought Ryan on for the show because obviously the show is way bigger than we're capable of. But Ryan is an expert screenwriter. So he brings a sense of and a knowledge of, he's forgotten more about how to tell stories and plots than I know. He's a wizard at it. And he brings that expertise to the table so that we can take these stories from the Gospels, not change them, but fit them into the construct of a show, which is a whole different ball of wax and very challenging. So talk real quick about, first of all, where we're at now. Again, knowing that our goal is to get all 8 episodes written this year, knowing that it takes more than you don't just start writing the script right away. So talk us through what we do and what we're doing right now as we're plotting out season 1 and what it's going to take to get these scripts done by this summer.
Right on. So, hi everybody. We've talked about this before. Dallas has told you that we meet at a writer's retreat. We've done this before each 4-episode segment, and we get a lot of work done in a very short period of time because we're trying to be efficient. We're using everybody's time. We're like Dallas said, we're in different parts of the country. So,
and we're not trying to write scripts at that point.
No,
we're trying to know what the season's going to look like.
We're so far away at that point. There's so many steps of planning these things. So at that retreat, what we do is we figure out what the start of the season is going to look like and what the end of the season is going to look like. We plot that out just like we do an episode. We're looking for a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so we get a sense of what every episode has to accomplish in terms of everybody's arc, introducing you to who these people are in 3 dimensions. And so we've now taken the next
that part's
step.
Been done.
That part
for season 2 has been done.
So now we've
so you know more spoilers than anyone on planet Earth for what season 2 is going to be. You probably even know more than I do, but if someone wanted to know what season 2 is, they would hold a gun to your head and they would get more spoilers than anyone else. That's not a dare. That's just fact.
That is true. Hopefully that won't happen. But so we're at a point now, and you know the great thing about this is that there's discovery in every step of the writing process for all of us. You know, and so regardless of spoilers that I know now, when we actually sit down and have to make a choice about something that we've plotted out or a character that we've plotted out, sometimes they surprise us. Sometimes we find an option that we hadn't seen before and we just stumble upon it and then we go with it. Of course, we stay, scripture is our mandate and we never leave that, but within the lines of it, we do find some opportunities to to go even deeper, and that's been a place where
wider and deeper, where it allows us to tell more of the story and give some of the history and cultural context that Scripture didn't see fit to share because it had a different mandate and goal than what we do. Another example of where things can sometimes change is sitting actually in this room. After 1 through 4, I remember you specifically were like, we got to bring Zebedee back more often. Like the choice to have the healing of the paralytic take place at Zebedee's house was a deliberate choice based on what Nick brought to the table. And it's also not an accident and not too deep of a spoiler, the reason why Zebedee will return. And we weren't planning on that. Zebedee was kind of a means to an end. He was to kind of introduce us to James and John, and then he was going to send them off on their way. And we didn't really have a strong reason to bring him back other than his performance. And so I think you've made that very clear. I think even in how we've shaped the relationship between Matthew and Quintus, Matthew and Gaius, has come from what we've discovered as opposed to what we've plotted out.
Yeah, it's so true. Even when the episodes are released and we see who's reacting to who's just. There's some storylines that are undeniable, and we're responding to a lot of those this season. We're finding characters that we need to emerge because they've just been so electric on the screen, and then others that, questions were left hanging about how Matthew is going to fit into the group. For example, episode 2 of season 2 is largely about Matthew finding his groove, if you will, in amongst the other apostles, and that's going to create a multi-episode arc that he's going to maybe finally break through in this second half of the first year of Jesus' ministry, which is what season 2 brings us to.
Right, because it would be fair to say that the cat's out of the bag now, as the Samaritan woman ran away from the well, screaming. She was, and she said, "I'm going to tell everyone." And Jesus said, "I was counting on it." Season 2 picks up where that left off. The cat's out of the bag. The word's getting out. Healings are going to start to increase. Miracles are increasing. The word is spreading, and that's got both positives and negatives. The positives are the fame is good. I mean, that Jesus' message is getting out there, but there's also a lot of hatred that comes from that. And then within the group, like you just said, Matthew's getting his groove. But in episode 5 and 1, we introduced a very key member of the team, Thomas. And if you notice at the end of episode 5, Thomas and Rhema Thomas says to Rhema, he wants us to join them in Samaria in 12 days. So if you're paying attention, this shouldn't be too much of a spoiler. Thomas and Rhema are going to show up in season. And Thomas brings to the table the fact that we recognize that Simon isn't the only one who's ticked off at having a tax collector in this inner circle. So all of that kind of intra-group dynamic is going to be at play. So let's talk about, just before I let you go, goals and deadlines. Is it reasonable that we can get the first 4 episodes done before Easter, and with the goal of trying to get this whole season done? I mean, the assembly line has begun. Tyler delivers usually the first draft of what we call a scriptment, which is kind of a narrative mixed with some dialogue. He delivers that to you. You turn it into you then deliver that to me. I kind of add my own things to it. While we're doing that, Tyler's moving on and you're moving on. What do we need just in terms of prayer and in terms of support to be able to do season 1 this year?
They say the worst writing assignment is to write something that nobody wants to make. And so knowing that everybody's behind us, knowing that the actors are excited to get going, that is always extremely helpful, just psychologically. Practically.
So on that note, when you're hearing from people on the fan club page, which by the way exists, if you go to the main Facebook page, you'll see an opportunity to join the Chosen Fan Club Facebook group. It's great. The people in there talk about the Chosen constantly, and they love it. And you hear constantly, "When's season 2 coming out? We're praying for you. Oh, we can't wait." That's not a negative for you.
No.
Okay. Doesn't feel like it adds more pressure.
No, every day when we wake up, we hope that this becomes a production. We hope that we get these actors in front of cameras. We hope that we have something to release by our own deadlines that we set. And we're inspired every day. You know, Tyler and I took a trip recently to Israel to work with Matt McEwen and Rabbi Itzhak Shapira. And
you just got back last week. I mean,
I got back on Sunday.
Yeah, so you are still on, in some ways, on Tel Aviv time.
I'm on Tel Aviv time, but you know, that opportunity was fairly mind blowing. It was life changing. We come back with so much inspiration, and I mean, we're just chomping at the bit to do this. So that is always helpful to know that we've got an end goal. Again, psychologically, practically, what we're looking at is that Tyler, me, and Dallas are now all working on scripts. We will be ready by Easter with 4 scripts. We want to get to 5. We want to get to 6, 7, and 8. We want to get to a place where, again, we know that these are going to become shows because we've got it all plotted out. There's going to be some discovery in among the margins, but right now we're looking at a very exciting mid-season. I mean, it's never a climax, but the mid-season does something specific for us. It shows us the characters are successes within their grasp, and it's never been further from them. So we get to this frustrating, exciting midpoint in the season, and I think it'll surprise everybody. I don't know if we've released any information about what happens at our midpoint in the season.
No, and we're not going to. And okay. And then also we can also, I think it's very safe to say, as safe as we knew that the ending of episode 4 of season 1 was going to be great, and we knew we could confidently state that the ending of episode 8 of season 1 was going to be emotionally impactful and it was going to be a great cliffhanger. We can confidently say that the ending of season 2 is a terrific jumpstart into the next season, and people are introduced and things are happening that will not disappoint. Is that safe to say?
It's safe to say, and it's so exciting because both of those moments are moments that people know,
right?
And so we're going to present them in a way you've never seen them, because we're going to give backstories and context for all those moments.
Yeah. 2 of the most defining moments or people in the Gospels take place in season 2. And so on the one hand, like you said, you know it, and so it's going to be great and you're going to be excited. But on the other hand, it's going to be in a different way than you've ever seen before because of the setup. And so that will continue. So I want to say this with him here, and then I'm going to let him go. And then I'm going to I have a couple more things I really want to share with you. But pray for this man. I mean this very sincerely. Obviously, I'm the boss of the show. And I'm not going to pretend that that's not true. But if there was someone who I probably am most reliant on, it's him. The actors, most of our lead actors have been cast. We know what they can do. They're going to deliver a lot of the same greatness that they already have. But he's more than anyone else on this show is each year has to work hard to lead us as fellow writers to create new things. The Bible has been set in stone, obviously, and we're not changing that. But to make it into a show and to honor the Bible while also introducing things that are interesting and compelling is a task that I'm not capable of, and he is more capable of than anyone. And so I'm more reliant on him than I am pretty much anyone that I can think of in the cast and crew. And he bears a great weight and responsibility as the head writer. The words that the actors in this room say, a good chunk of them were written by Ryan, and if they weren't written directly by him, because all 3 of us, I think, contribute equally in terms of dialogue and stuff, but they have to go through his, they have to pass his muster. Even I have to get approval from Ryan that this is going to make for good storytelling. And so we're all capable of that. I think we all bring something interesting to the table, but this guy is the one who decides this works as a plot, this works as a show. And so please continue to pray for him. And the next 4 months or so of this year are as contingent upon Ryan as they are anyone else, including me, because there are periods of time where I'm actually not writing. I'm just communicating with you, and he's doing the bulk of it. So pray for him, pray for Tyler, of course, pray for me. But I just wanted you to know the importance of this man sitting right next to me, who, by the way, was my wife's Sadie Hawkins date in high school. And I didn't know him back then, of course, and my wife lost touch with him for several years, and we came back in touch just a couple of years ago, and I believe absolutely that it was for this purpose. So thank you in advance for those continued prayers, and thank you for what you've been doing so far. So glad you're here, brother.
Me too.
Love you very much, and I got a lot of more work to do. So why don't you go get back to writing?
So, thanks, everybody.
Yeah. All right. So I have a couple of quick announcements to make, a couple of quick updates to give you, a couple of quick reminders. As of right now, I am being told that we are at 1.21, which means that we are less than we're less than $30,000, between $25,000 and $30,000 away from hitting our goal just for tonight, which is extraordinary. I can't thank you enough for that. So that means quite a lot. Let's finish strong. And I want to give you a reason to finish strong. I want to read to you a couple quick things that also came across us just in the last couple of days. I had Nick read, or at times try to read, because it was very emotional for all of us, what that woman and that mother and that wife and mother in China had to say about watching The Chosen and what your Pay It Forwards did to allow her to do that. But we got this note just the other day from a woman named Debbie, who said, "I watched the first season because my good friend paid it forward." So she had a friend of hers that paid it forward and allowed her to be able to watch this first season. That was almost 2 weeks ago. I'm a believer, but I've gone through incredible physical pain coupled with severe depression. I was at the point of feeling I had no way out except to take my life. It was no joke. And then through my friend, words can't say what the timing of this has been for me. It has made the Gospels, but even more than that, Jesus, come alive. I can pray again, and I really feel like he hears me. I too have paid it forward, and I really hope to do so again. God bless all of you for this amazing production, and may, by God's grace, the up-and-coming seasons be financed soon. This is the good news, the power of God unto salvation. So that's why I want you to understand how Pay It Forward works. When you're paying it forward, when I've said this a couple of times tonight, when I say this is why. When I say, tonight when you pay it forward, you are not only financing episode 1 of season 2, but you are also financing season 8 of this whole show. Is because when you pay it forward, other people get a chance to watch it. And when they watch it, they end up wanting to pay it forward. Now, some people can't do that. Some people only have the opportunity to watch what you provide for them and nothing more. And so that because of that, they're able to share the word, they're able to spread it to other people, but not everyone is able to pay it forward. And that's okay. And that's part of how this works, is we're doing this for the purpose of spreading the word to those who maybe can't afford it otherwise. And the beauty of this being able to be on an app, the technology that was invented and created by the Harmon Brothers company over at VidAngel under their stewardship. But I know that Jeffrey and Neil Harmon would be the first to tell you that they didn't do it themselves. They have an incredible team over there that is working hard. There are people, you got Ryan in this room, and you got these actors in this room right now who are delivering some of this content that you love so much. But the content doesn't get to you. You are not able to watch the content without the incredible work of people who sit at computers all day long and oftentimes into the night. I have met them. I've gone to the VidAngel offices, and I've met guys who spent 36 hours straight creating the opportunity, creating the technology. I know Neil Harmon, in fact, one of the owners, himself all-nighter to help make sure that we could pull this off, so that you are able to watch this show without needing a subscription, without needing your own to get a subscription to a streaming service, that you're able to just use a phone all over the world to just plug right in and watch this show on your streaming device. And that is an extraordinary thing. And so when you pay it forward, you're allowing other people to spread the word, and they end up paying it forward. And Debbie, who was at the brink of suicide, saw this show, and it brought her back to God, and because of it, she's also paying it forward. Angela had this to say: "The first night, we watched the first 2 episodes. Later that evening, I was in tears. For the first time in a while, Jesus felt so real to me. I felt a strong connection. I felt desperate to close the huge gap that I'd inadvertently put between me and God through neglect. I was determined to go to church this past Sunday with the kids. I gave up asking my husband to go a long time ago." So her husband had not been going to church for a long time. We hear this often, spouses saying, my spouse doesn't care about the show, doesn't care about the Bible. I'm just trying to get them to watch it. And then we'll hear these stories of them starting to watch it and then getting drawn in and wanting to watch more. Surprisingly, he went with us without me saying anything because of the show. It was awesome, and I can't help but believe this show had so much to do with it. I have a renewed spirit. Can't wait to talk about it over some coffee soon. She's talking about this to other friends. Again, that's because of what you're doing. That's because of what Pay It Forward's doing. Sarah B., I missed that one, but Richard C. has just paid it forward for 100 episodes. That 100 episodes, that's people like Debbie, like her first initial was M. And I wanted to also let you know about one other thing. Some of you may have heard of Mandisa, who's a very famous singer, and particularly a gospel singer. And I didn't know about this. I didn't. Someone just showed me this morning, that on her Instagram story, it's at Mandisa Official, Mandisa Official. Someone asked her, because she sometimes does questions, and she says, "Bring me your questions." Someone said, "What do you do when your time with God becomes a chore? How do you make it enjoyable again?" She says, "I love that you asked this, Rachel. God is pleased with your heart that wants to walk in a closer relationship with him." And she gives a couple of examples of what to do: reading the Psalms, reading the Gospels in a different Bible translation. And then she says this. Again, I had no idea this was coming. I had no idea she'd seen the show. She said, "Then check out this incredible series I just discovered called The Chosen. It's free to watch." Think about that. Again, it's free to watch. And that's because of you. And I want you to hear that every time we talk about these testimonials. "I pray it will make the life of Jesus jump off the page for you like it did for me." Swipe up for more information. So to her hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers, she's giving specific direction on how to find this show because it impacted her. And she said it's free. And so that's what Pay It Forward. That's what I want you to focus on tonight as we wrap up, as we try to get to this funding of episode 1. I want to just give you one final recap of the why and then the how. And the why is that, as I said earlier, we don't have a big studio just writing a check. We don't have a big TV network just writing a check saying it's greenlit, it's going on the air. Everything that we do with this is, as I said, like crawling on glass. It is a struggle. It is a challenge. It is tough. It is not fun. It's joyous. It's very redeeming. It's very rewarding, but it's not always fun. And we try to make it fun, but it is work, because we're not only giving you a show, but we're also coming up with ways to communicate to it. All of this is different. That's why I'm wearing a shirt that says "Get Used to Different," is because this whole show has been different, and we're doing a new thing. "Behold, I am doing a new thing," as Isaiah 43 says, and that is a hallmark of our show. And so everything is coming from scratch, and that's you. You are literally responsible in so many ways for what we're doing. And of course, you know, and I know that as we've seen and heard from some of our actors tonight, and as we've seen and heard from Ryan and from me, God is behind this project, and he is doing things that are tough to explain at times, but he's not letting us take it easy. I think very hard. I believe very strongly that it's hard for a reason. He wants us every day to have our hands open for daily manna, like the Israelites in Exodus, who had to get their, I don't remember if it was in Exodus exactly, so forgive me if I'm wrong, but in the Old Testament, when the Israelites every day had to go out for their daily bread, their daily manna, and they couldn't get any more than just that day because God wanted them to be reliant on him, and that's what this show is. So I hope that you recognize that we're reliant on God for this. But this is an effort, and it requires a lot of sacrifice on our part and on our family's part. And I want you to join with us in prayer and in support, knowing that when you do that, it allows us to keep going. I'm not asking for I'm not asking you to join in something that you don't love or care about. We don't ask you to pay it forward until you've seen a few episodes and we say, of this show, please pay it forward. We're not asking you to donate to some nonprofit and hope that eventually you might get a thank you from us. We want you to know that this is having value, that it's having value for you. And we hope that if this show has provided value for you, that you will in turn help provide value for others. But if the show hasn't provided value for you, if you're watching this live stream right now and you're just not a big fan of the show or you don't care much about the show, then by all means, please do not pay it forward. Please do not buy merchandise and please do not buy DVDs. But if the show has provided you some value, I hope that you will give back in some way, not only to the show, but to others. And the way to do that, of course, I'm going to run through it here, is through, we've got merchandise tonight. Tonight is the last night. Tonight is the deadline to get our Get Used to Different merchandise and our official season 1 poster. The official season 1 poster is really cool. I have it framed on my wall. I love it, and it looks really cool. And we've gotten some pictures from people who've put it on their wall. If you've got a student and you want to help them with their dorm room, it's perfect for that. Or if you just have if there's a man cave where you're putting up different items, season 1 official chosen poster is a great start. So please go to www.thechosenmerch.com. That's kind of barbershop quartet. That's kind of cool. I bailed because I didn't think it was ending well. And then you guys kind of rescued a little bit. It's kind of cool. So www.thechosenmerch.com. Remember the discount code and write this in the margins if you don't have it. If someone is asking what it is, write in the chat box Livestream 10. Livestream, the number 10, all one word, Livestream 10, and you can join in with the many others who are getting used to different and who are giving this call to action. And in a couple weeks, we will have some new merchandise for you. We'll bring back some old merchandise, but tonight, I really want you to consider this because A, it's really cool and it's very comfortable. B, the message of what we're saying is very strong and it's a great conversation starter. It's based on episode 7 where Jesus says to Simon, get used to different. And C, it goes towards episode 1 of The Chosen tonight and future episodes and seasons every time that you get the merchandise. There's, of course, also the DVDs and the books. I'm a DVD guy myself, so I love having the DVD. I love having something tangible. The season 1 DVD, get this, has all 8 episodes, but it also has a third disc that contains the 8 Bible roundtables where we talk to our Bible and historical and religious experts about the season. We even disagree on a few things. There's even comments that people have made about the show and about the roundtables where they've disagreed with some of the things. That's what's so great about it. We get a chance to talk about these things and work through them and debate. And you get a chance to see that in the season 1 DVD. And there's also, yes, indeed, the Christmas special, the pilot episode, the birth of Christ from the perspective of the shepherd, the show that started it all, is on the season 1 DVD. And you can see it there, and that's really cool. And that's what allows you to give it to others. Allows you to, maybe if you have a group at your home, sometimes it's easier to play it on DVD than to do it via streaming. And then, of course, the Chosen devotional book, season 1 devotional book, The Chosen 40 Days with Jesus. It's 40 essays, devotionals, whatever word you want to use, that take you deeper into the stories, deeper into the people behind these shows, behind the Gospels and from the show, in a way that what the show cannot do. And so it gives you scripture references, it gives you prayer guides. It's really, really cool. It has impacted thousands of lives, just that devotional alone. So when you go to the store, thechosen.tv/store, www.thechosen.tv/store. Man. All right, I think that might be the last time I try that again. So thechosen.tv/store is what you get the DVDs and the books. And if you notice, again, it's very important that you notice this, there's backer packages that allow you to get these in bulk. The more you buy, the cheaper it is. And the reason we did that is because we wanted you to have gifts. And when you are able to give out the DVDs and give out the books, hand them to people as gifts, the chances that they're going to actually watch it or read it are much higher. And so that's a great way to get it out there, but it also is, of course, a terrific way to support future episodes and seasons. But finally, the most important long-term plan, the long-term engine for this show is the pay it forward method. And so please, tonight at some point, if you haven't already, or at some point in the future, hopefully you can also just click the option that allows you to do this automatically every month, is www.thechosen.tv/payitforward. www.thechosen.tv/payitforward. I thought I'd take a chance one last time. I flew, no, not doing it one more time. I flew too high to the sun, like Icarus. And I made a move. I had faith, and God said there is only so much I will reward you with for this show. And basically, make sure you keep them in their lane as actors, not as singers. All right, good to know. So thechosen.tv/payitforward is where you go, and there's the option to do monthly pay it forwards automatically. That's the best way to do it, honestly. And that is, I can't emphasize this enough, that is the engine that is going to keep this show going. If we have a chance of this show going 8 seasons, it's going to be because of Pay It Forward. And if you keep doing that, and if you keep spreading the word to do that, it will lead to the ability to, down the road, the show will start to sustain itself. And I won't have to come to you each season. We'll just be able to live, and that will continue. It will allow the show to continue for decades. For decades, people around the world will be able to send in testimonials like what we read earlier, all over the world. People able to watch this show. Wouldn't it be so great if all 8 seasons, if there is someone in the Philippines, someone in Iran, someone in the United States who hears about this show and is able to watch all 8 seasons free because of you and because of your ability and your willingness to pay this forward. Thank you so much for that. With that, I think we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to check in to see how close we came. I just heard that a gentleman named Langford, who has been a tremendous investor and supporter of the show from day one, I believe he actually visited the set. Very good. Yes, he did visit the set and actually gave the shirt that you're wearing. Oh, I'm going to show you this. Langford contributed. He gave this. Unfortunately, some of the letters are starting to fall off because I use this so much. So I use this literally every day. But this Chosen backpack, he gave that as a gift to the members of the crew. But Langford has been a tremendous supporter. I don't want to embarrass him, but he just did a $10,000 pay it forward. Ooh. Ryan, you clapping? All right, good. I'm in the bedroom. $10,000 from Langford. Langford, thank you. But I want to make this very, very clear, and Langford would agree with this. $100 pay it forwards, $15 pay it forwards are just as important as $10,000 pay it forwards, and I mean that because what this is about is sustainability, being able to do it long term, but it also is very much about the relationship you and the show, and the relationship between you and the viewer. And when you are able to pay it forward for any amount, you will be seeing thank yous in the app. You will be getting notified when someone thanks you, and that means so much. But so obviously we want to thank Langford for that, but that makes a huge difference, of course. So at some point soon, we will no doubt hit our goal, whether it's tonight or in the morning or whatever it is. But please continue to pay it forward, because that is the long-term sustainability. And as we finance episode 1, we are also financing season 8. That is how we are going to be able to get this show completed. So, but first things first. First things first is season 2. And as I introduced you earlier, Ryan is writing right now. Tyler is writing. I am writing. We're working on these episodes so we can get season 2 to you. If we want to have any hope of getting to you something by Thanksgiving, we're going to need to finance the first 4 episodes in the next couple months. Otherwise, which is not a bad thing. It's okay. We will no doubt be able to shoot something this year. We will get those episodes to you as early as we can. And I hope that you'll be part of that. So thank you so much. God bless you. I care deeply about you and your contribution to this project. And just remember this, it's not your job to feed the 5,000, it's only loaves and fish. And I hope that you will continue to get used to different and partner with us on this incredible journey that is The Chosen. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Name and my last name?
Sure, go ahead and give me your first and last name.
Okay. My name is Kaylin Reese, and I'm from
Try that
Sorry.
again.
Port Charlotte or Arcadia?
Well, we're more closer to Port
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. We'll probably use that. That's cute.
My name is Kaylin Reese, and I'm from Port Charlotte, Florida.
With our daughter, she had some quirks when she was growing up. She was also obsessed with certain things. We didn't know it was Asperger's at first.
Different ways that she would struggle, different ways that she processed things. I guess didn't think much about it as she was growing up until a couple of family members who are teachers mentioned that, you know, she may be on the spectrum.
Sometimes I think of things a little bit more deeply than some do, and don't always understand people's jokes. And I had a few tics growing up that I've kind of learned to control.
The heartbreaking thing as a mother is when you watch your child, you know, struggle with friendships and, you know, to feel left out. But then watching her kind of overcome those struggles with some of her gifts has been really amazing.
She had such a gift of just musical, an ear for music and an eye for artwork.
We watched it together as a family, and we were all like crying and stuff, and it was really good.
Seeing Matthew for the first time, it just kind of struck all of us like, huh, that's really interesting.
Matthew's quirks, the way he interacted with people was very mechanical, always looking around. And I kind of recognized that. At least I had suspicions that he might be on the spectrum.
Especially how he was an outcast and how it was really hard for him to make friends and like relate with people. And the part where he was looking into his family's house and he was like sad because they didn't invite him or anything. Not that my family is like that, but I've had some friends who have done stuff like that to me. Well, I just saw the character and I just really related with it. And I don't know, I just thought maybe if they need a cellist that I could come in if they needed me. And also I wanted to tell you that how much that it impacted me.
So we said, of course, that's no problem. I never ever expected really that we'd hear anything back. I thought that was kind of a neat, cute gesture that she wanted to send a letter.
And I immediately had an idea of what the letter was about, because when we created the character of Matthew, we decided that based on some of the characteristics we saw in the Gospels, that it was plausible, if not factual, but plausible that Matthew had Asperger's syndrome. I have personal experience with it. On my side of the family, there's a lot of people on the spectrum. I have a daughter who's on the autism spectrum. And so it just made a lot of sense. And so once we decided that, writing into Matthew these characteristics that I know very well, I felt like we could really do an accurate portrayal. Kaylin wrote me this letter and she simply said, I was moved by seeing a character on screen that I could relate to. And it also brought me closer to God and made me realize that I'm not alone and that God is with me and sees me in these moments. One of our composers, Matt, is actually a world-class cellist, and so we didn't actually need one. But as soon as I mentioned to Matt and Dan, our composers, her letter, and I said, you know, what would you think of us maybe allowing her to participate?
Man, it's really cool that I'm in a position to support and encourage a really cool experience for somebody that I didn't get to have when I was a teenager.
I am always a fan of supporting musicians who are up and coming and who are just have this strong desire and passion for music.
My dad opened a text that he got from my mom and saw the email, and then he goes, and then I was like, what? And then I leaned over to look at it, and he said, no, I want to read it to you. So then he started reading the response. We both like started tearing up, and I got so excited that I almost like jumped out of the car. Then we just sat there like, wow, God is so good, and I was just so happy.
When she showed up, I think she was clearly a little bit nervous, but a little bit excited. One of the things that were able to calm some of the nerves was we were able to just talk. Matt was able to talk about the cello, and Dan was able to talk about music in general and about some of the things that we did.
And then I kind of figured out what I was gonna do. When I found out it was the scene with Nicodemus and Jesus, I was like, wow, that's so special.
Just amazing to be able to see these people would take the time to work with Kaylin to let her be a part of this.
We weren't necessarily just doing her a favor. She's actually a really good cello player. And so when she sat down and started to play, we were like, wow, this is actually really good. This is actually worthy of this scene. The scene that we chose for her to play on is actually one of the most important scenes in the whole show.
The moment that she plays in the cue is probably the most important climactic moment in the scene. It was neat that it worked out for her to be a part of a moment that was that important, and not just a couple of characters walking to the market kind of thing, something like that. It's cool that it worked out that way. A couple of simple explanations of things about nuts and bolts of this is how we do this. She was a pro. Yep.
She did fantastic. In fact, I don't think we need Matt Nelson anymore on cello.
Then after we did it, I saw the video with the music, and I almost started crying. It was so cool that I get to be a part of this.
Blessed are all who take refuge in him.
She actually played beautifully, and I think brought to her playing a purity that made the scene even better.
She's super talented. I don't think a lot of teenagers get to have the experience that she was able to have today. I don't think a lot of people have enough people pouring into them and just saying, hey, look, you keep going, keep getting better at what you're doing.
I can't tell you how much that just impacted me watching it, and knowing that my daughter's cello was a part of that. I could not be more proud as a father.
To hear her be able to play in a studio and to have the encouragement from everybody working with her, it was just beautiful. I can't wait to see the rest, but that one scene, yeah, that's pretty special.
All that stuff is great when you can invite people into the process of creating. And for us, working on a TV show, for it to be, now it's hers too. Like, it's not just Matt's and my music, it's hers. And I love that we can invite people in that way.
Allowing someone like Kaylin to participate in this, I think, is part of the statement that we're trying to make with this show, which is, in the lyrics of the opening credit sequence song, got no trouble with the mess you've been, jump in the water. And I think that's what we were saying to Kaylin. We got no trouble with this. The fact that you've struggled with Asperger's is not a hindrance to you being involved. In fact, we'd love for you to be involved, and we'd love for you to jump in the water with us and participate in this show that God has clearly been orchestrating from the beginning. All right, I got a surprise. This was not planned. A good friend of mine, who I want you to meet, was flying through traffic because he saw the live stream. And he's like, I gotta get there and make a quick appearance. And so, but unfortunately, the traffic was so bad, he showed up a couple minutes late. But I thought you should meet this close friend of mine. I think you'd really get a lot out of it. So come on in. Hello? Do you recognize this young man by any chance?
Guys, anybody there?
Yes.
Anyone there?
Yes.
Hello?
So, Jonathan, show them what you're wearing.
Look what I'm wearing. Look at this. Look at these.
Yes.
Look at this.
The Get Used to Different sweatshirt.
LA traffic.
Yes.
Terrible.
The Chosen beanie hat, which we will be bringing back sometime soon. Okay.
Bring it back to me.
So anyway, so, real quick, each of these men, our co-writer Ryan, Kian, George, and Nick have all had a chance to say something.
Yeah.
There are still over 1,000 people right now watching. Yeah.
Thanks for sticking around, guys.
Yes. So do you have anything you'd like to share about, I don't know, where you're at right now as you're preparing for season 2? This Saturday night, you and I actually have a screening in Beverly Hills.
That's right.
They can pray for that. There's going to be a good amount of people there to see an episode. We're going to be talking together. But I don't know, what's on your heart and mind that you'd love for these people to know? Does the encouragement toward season 2 help you add more pressure? Does it make you feel nervous? I mean, where are you at right now?
Well, because I was stuck in traffic, I was able to hear almost all of the live stream, which was awesome. I was like, I'm right there. So I'm really excited to hear about how Tyler and Ryan went over to Israel and got some real inspiration for the stuff that's going to come up for season 2 and subsequent seasons. And I've started already thinking about wondering what stories that we're going to be telling and how I can prepare for it. But I think even with all the with phenomenal response that we've had in the last year, it's really just, this whole process has just pushed me further in my journey with Christ and with the Gospels and just wanting to know more. And I've been reading, I thought of you today because I was reading a breakdown on one of these other parables with a depth that I'd never heard before. And it just made me think like, wow, seeing that sort of what we've been doing already and applied to various different parables got me really excited about wanting to just show it.
Well, that's the thing. That's what this show does is, yes, we stick to scripture and we don't change when we portray something from to change it. One of the things that we're trying to do is what I think a good sermon can do, or what a good book can do, or a good article, whereas it takes what you know, it takes what's on the page and gives you just a little bit of extra context that can help bring it to life even more. And is that necessary in the sense that, is the Bible enough? Of course the Bible. But when you've been a believer for as long as I have, for example, and for you talking about how just even the last couple of years, you've made no secret of the fact that you've kind of had a revival in your spirit.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can read the Bible and go, I feel like I haven't read that before.
Right.
Like I've heard it, but then you're like, and that happens all the time. And I think what makes the Bible so powerful is it's a living, breathing thing. And I think this has been true for you. And I think that we experience that when we're on set. There's a lot of times going, this is what's on the page in this scene, but what can be brought more to it? And usually the answer doesn't come from our own brains.
Right.
It usually comes
from us shutting our brain.
Exactly.
Just surrendering to the Spirit, just channeling what it is that is working through the scripts that we built and the production that we've set up, and hopefully the performances that will bring everything to life.
So any final word, just as whether it's thanks or a request for prayer or anything before we sign off?
I just thank everybody in advance for all the prayers that they've been sending, all the messages you guys have sent the Chosen Army, everybody that's been keeping us in their prayers, and everybody that's been helping us financially. Like, we all wanted to do this yesterday. We all wanted to start season 2 yesterday. So we're patiently waiting and praying that everybody that sees the show sees the value in the show, not just as entertainment, but as something much bigger than that, bigger than ourselves. And we'll be as excited as we are to contribute and to help us get there sooner than later, because I don't want to be 60 by the time we're getting to season 8.
Did you by any chance hear what Nick read?
I did. What he tried to read.
Yes. Yeah.
That was intense. That was super powerful.
But I'm curious real quick what you thought as you heard that from a woman who's saying, my kids are, even though they don't speak English, and even though we don't have it translated, said they were watching with their mouths open as Jesus was brushing his teeth and doing his prayers and starting a fire. That stuff that we wrote thinking, this is going to be impactful to see Jesus as a human as opposed to just a deity. And I remember when you were doing it, it was real. I mean, it was genuinely trying to start a fire. And I think
That was no joke.
yeah, but I think I wanted you to hear that too, that what you were doing on that day in Texas, hunched over a fire, has an impact on non-English speaking Chinese children stuck in their homes because of the coronavirus.
I think when we did that, we all thought like, this would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't think we thought that it would get to this level, to have that far-reaching an impact, A, so soon, and B, in the way that it has.
Right.
And actually, I just posted a picture today that I think somebody posted on somebody sent me from the Chosen fan page, about these 3 kids just perched in front of the TV watching, I think it was episode 7,
right.
And just kind of glued to the TV, and it's like that's what this is about, It's miraculous.
The shirt that I'm wearing, the sweatshirt that you're wearing, tonight is the last night to get it.
Get it while it's hot, and it's
Can
gone.
you sing it? Can you sing it better than
the barbershop quartet?
Barbershop quartet. So I'm going to get you started here.
Which is it? The
chosenmerch.com.
The merch. Okay, yeah.
www.thechosenmerch.com. Yes.
Ta-da.
One more time. www.thechosenmerch.com. Yes, that's where you can get this shirt and that sweatshirt. Right now, tonight, Livestream 10 is the discount code. When you go to order Livestream 10, all one word, you get 10% off everything that you get. Join us in getting used to different.
Hours away. Get it while it's hot.
Yes.
Before it's gone.
Yes. God bless. Glad we could bring, to those of you who stuck around, glad we could give you that little bonus. But thanks again, guys. It really means a lot.
Thank you, guys. God bless.
Fill these jars with water.
It has begun.
What has?
Miracles.
Signs and wonders.
All your life you've been asleep. Make straight the way for the King. He is here to awaken the earth.
I'm ready, Father.
But some will not want to waken. They're in love with the dark. I wonder which one you'll be.
What will be next?
Any suggestions?
I'll go with you to the ends of the earth.
I hope so, Simon.
The man has a following.
He's a rogue who answers to no one.
Do you think that impossible things can happen? That overturn the laws of nature? That cannot be explained.
Matthew, son of Alphaeus.
Yes. I'm Jesus of Nazareth.
We've heard about you.
Have you?
It's getting too crowded. All these people, word spreading, wrong people stop by.
Rise.
You asked me before if I knew his name. Now everyone knows his name, and I fear for his safety.
By order of Rome and punishable by imprisonment, religious gatherings are strictly prohibited. The teacher known as Jesus of Nazareth is sought for questioning.
Until the Messiah comes and sorts this mess out, including me, I don't trust in anyone.
This is different.
Get used to different.
And you know these things because you are the Christ. I'm going to tell everyone.
I was counting on it. What have you come here to show us? I don't know where to start. I have so many questions. God loves the world in this way, that he gave his only son. My whole life I have wondered if I would see this day. Follow me, and you'll see more.